From abandoned to unstoppable.
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Betrayed and Became the Golden Libra Dragon Emperor movie. Before we start, please go support NormaElementruWolf for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Prologue chapter. In a special sanctuary, where there were 12 temples representing the zodiac signs, and in the most specific temple of the goddess Athena, there were 12 young men before a beautiful woman with long blonde hair and blue eyes, wearing Greek clothing and adorned with gold accessories. She is Mariana Keto, the reincarnation of the goddess Athena. Kneeling before her in respect, these young men were the current gold saints, awaiting their goddess's words. 4 years had passed since they officially became gold saints, but to give you some background, we'll see a flashback. 12 young men could be seen, each standing beside a golden box bearing the symbol of their guardian constellation. They were each donning their armor, kneeling before their goddess, and presenting themselves with their knightly title, swearing loyalty to their goddess. Just imagine each one in their respective armor. Suna. I, Suna, gold saint of Aries, swear loyalty to you, by the respect of my life, goddess Athena. Natsu. I, Natsu, gold saint of Taurus, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Asta. I, Asta, gold saint of Gemini, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Shido. I, Shido, gold saint of Cancer, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Naruto. I, Naruto, gold saint of Leo, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Rito. I, Rito, gold saint of Virgo, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Issei. I, Issei, gold saint of Libra, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Basara. I, Basara, gold saint of Scorpio, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Bel. I, Bel, gold saint of Sagittarius, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Ichika. I, Ichika, gold saint of Capricorn, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Subaru. I, Subaru, gold saint of Aquarius, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. Kazuma. I, Kazuma, gold saint of Pisces, swear loyalty to you, goddess Athena, for the rest of my life. All. We will serve you with our lives, goddess Athena, until the end. They all said in unison. End of flashback. Returning to the protagonists and their goddess, the woman told her knights. Athena. Stand up, my knights. You don't have to bow to anyone, least of all to me. The gold saints looked at each other and obeyed their goddess's command. Subaru. Can we know the reason why the goddess Athena summoned us? He said this with a touch of curiosity about the reason his goddess summoned him. Athena. It's easy, Subaru of Aquarius, it's for an important reason. Kazuma. What would be that reason, goddess Athena? Athena. The reason is that we will form an alliance with the factions because the awakening of the god Hades is approaching. The knights who were watching over his scepter told me that it is about to break and awaken him. She said it in a calm, serious, and worried voice, concerned for humanity and what might happen in this holy war. Only one of the knights didn't much like that detail, and that was Issei of Libra. He made a serious face at having to return to the place that had hurt him and almost murdered him in cold blood. He didn't like seeing the faces of all those who had turned their backs on him and left him to die like an abandoned dog. This was noticed by his companions, who knew about the brown-haired knight's past and knew that he disliked having to interact with the people of that place. Rito. Excuse me, goddess Athena, but who are those who will accompany you to the meeting? Athena. Those who will go with me will be the patriarch, and the knights who will go are Pisces, Aquarius, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius and Leo. The others will stay to guard the sanctuary in our absence. This made Issei think twice about being chosen to go to that place, which brought back memories of the past, none of them good, and he just gave a serious look as a sign that he was confirming that he was going to go with his companions and with his goddess. Athena. You can all return to your temples now, and those of you traveling with me, pack your things, we're leaving tomorrow. Everyone. As you say, goddess Athena, so everyone left the place, leaving the goddess alone with the patriarch. Athena. Patriarch believes I did the right thing in choosing Issei to come with me and the others, since we know what happened to him with the factions, and I know he didn't like the idea of returning and seeing his face again. I fear they'll recognize him and try to keep him away from us. But if that happens, I won't allow it, and if they provoke a war, I will stop it. Patricia. Lady Athena, we will not allow them to use any of our knights to gain more power, since they only think about becoming stronger, no matter the cost. Furthermore, Issei agreed to come with us of his own free will, as he knows he cannot escape his past forever. At some point, he will have to return and face them, and he knows it. Besides, she sounds overly concerned about one of her knights, Lady Athena. Athena, why wouldn't I be Patricia? It's one of my hairs, I should be worried about what happens to it. Patriarch. Did you know, she's in love with a Libra knight? Athena. How do you know, she said it very red as a tomato. Patriarch. It's very obvious how she looks at him, also because of the way she blushes. Remember that the real Athena said that all her reincarnations could fall in love and have a family. That made the blonde blush furiously, as she imagined herself and him married and happy, with little children running around the sanctuary, while he hugged her and watched their children play. But she was pulled from her thoughts when the patriarch spoke to her, telling her to stop daydreaming. And if she wanted to be with him, she had to tell him how she felt before someone else beat her to it, which the blonde quickly did, pouting. He said he wouldn't let just any woman get near his knight and love interest, something he covered his face with his hands, afraid of betraying himself when he saw the patriarch laughing. After that, Issei was in his temple, thinking only about what had just happened a few moments ago, and that he had to return to the place he never saw as a home, and even less so that they saw him as one of their companions and friends. Rito. What's wrong, Issei? Why do you seem so restless? Is it because of what happened at the meeting with Lady Athena, right? Issei. That's right, Rito. I know I have to face my past and see their faces. I agreed to go to the meeting with you, the goddess Athena and the patriarch because I wanted to confront my past once and for all. If I prolong it any longer, it will be even harder than it is now. Although I still have some doubts and I know I shouldn't have done it. Rito. I know, Issei, if I were in your place I would feel the same, but remember that we are not only companions and friends, we are brothers and the others think the same as me. You must not doubt your decisions. You are a Libra, your decisions must be firm and balanced, you must never doubt them, and that is something that defines you as a knight and as a person, Issei. We'll all be with you and help you deal with this and defend you if they try anything to hurt you. We're a family and we'll always be together until the end. Issei just smiled and bumped fists with Rito in agreement. Issei. Thanks, Rito needs it. Now everything is clearer than before. I think I should keep preparing my things for tomorrow, otherwise the patriarch will punish us. Rito. I agree with you, see you later Issei. They said their goodbyes and Rito went to his temple. Issei continued preparing his things for tomorrow, ready for whatever might happen at that meeting and to protect his goddess from whatever might occur. A short while later, he finished and stepped outside his temple, looking at the sky as he said. Issei. Factions, we will meet again soon, but not as friends, nor as acquaintances, nor as family. We will only be allies, but those who betray Athena will pay with their lives. I no longer care what happens to them. I owe nothing to any of you for what I did in the past, and I will not let anyone separate me from my true family, which is my fellow knights and the others. No one will change my mind. It's too late to fix things, many years too late. If they do anything to Athena, I swear on my life they will pay for their audacity with blood. Then he will enter his temple and rest for tomorrow, and whatever will happen at his meeting with his goddess and the factions. App 1. While that was happening at the sanctuary, elsewhere things were different. We find ourselves in the underworld, specifically with a certain red-haired Mao we know. This person is Search's Gremory. He was in his office signing paperwork, but if you looked closely, you could see that he was sad, regretful, and in pain. You might be wondering why Mao Lucifer was like this. Well, it was because he regretted not believing in Issei and causing all the chaos they now have to deal with without the brown-haired boy. And more than anything, all those who turned their backs on Issei are suffering the consequences and guilt of their actions towards him. They're also praying that he's alive, or at least that he's not dead because of them, given the way they killed him and the fatal wounds they inflicted the day they betrayed him. He couldn't bear the thought of an innocent being killed because of his decisions, mistakes, and actions against the chestnut-haired boy. At first, they thought he was dead and searched the entire underworld for his soul to revive him, but found nothing in heaven. They had two theories. That because of him, he was denied eternal rest in any realm or paradise. And his soul is floating in the void, something that will never be recovered. The other option is that he was alive and hiding somewhere so they wouldn't find him, since everything has gone from bad to worse since Issei left. When the girls found out the truth that Issei wasn't a traitor, they were deeply sorry and haven't stopped crying, searching everywhere for him. Some of them seemed to be talking to a wall, thinking Issei was listening. Others were locked up all day crying non-stop, and others were searching for him all over the city without any success, and others were studying, trying to travel back in time to prevent this disaster. The Redeed looked up at Gryphia. Searches. What's wrong, Gryphia? Is there any sign of him? He said this hoping to see the chestnut-haired boy and fix everything that he and the Emas caused, and to have Issei back. Gryphia. No searches Sama, there is no trace of him. It has been 4 years since the last time Issei-san was seen, she said, lowering her head, which the Redeed did the same as her, while both of them had tears coming out because of what had happened. Searches? What will we do now? We must find Issei-kun. Only he might be able to stand against Alan. Since he arrived, it's been one disaster after another without stopping. The girls also want to get him back. His parents and siblings regret what they did and for believing Alan's lies. Rifia. I know searches Sama, but we can't do much for now. We can only hope that he will appear, but he needs to rest. Tomorrow is the meeting with the Olympians. The Redeed nodded and went to rest for the meeting. While in the room of a certain Redeed, she was crying, hugging her pillow while she was in the fetal position while begging forgiveness in the air to the brunette. Rias. Sniff sniff my eyes, please forgive me. I should have believed you and not trusted that piece of trash Alan. Please come back, I miss you so much. Sniff my dear eyes, I'm sorry, I love you. She said this while looking at the moonlight through the window as she cried. The same thing was happening with the other girls, having the same feelings as the Redeed, wanting the brunette to come back and forgive them for the mistake they made, while in the human world, more specifically in a house, the brunette's ex-family could be seen. In different rooms, there were different emotions like guilt, self-hatred, sadness, and regret. In one room, which was Issei's old room, his sister Sarah Hyodui hugged one of the pillows on the bed. She wept, imagining herself hugging her brother, whom she had hurt his whole life, and even more so, betrayed in the worst way possible, leaving him on the brink of death in an abandoned forest, to bleed to death by eating the food of some wild animal. At first, everyone was happy to be rid of the protagonist, but after a while, many truths came to light, causing all those responsible for the protagonist's betrayal and near murder to regret what they did to Issei. And the fact that they chose to listen to a stranger instead of him was the worst part. Sarah. Nyson, forgive me for everything I did to you. I shouldn't have listened to Eduardo and hurt you throughout our childhood. And I should never have turned my back on you. I'm so sorry. Sniff sniff sniff, please come home. We all miss you so much. Our parents and everyone else miss you. I miss you too. Please come back. Meanwhile, Sarah and her two older brothers were in the same situation, much worse for them because of what they had done to their son. It wasn't just that they ignored him almost his entire life, mistreated him, turned their backs on him when they betrayed him, and took away his surname. It pained them to remember how many horrible things they had done to him, telling him he was no longer a Hyodui. And on top of that, they said they considered Alan their son, even though he turned out to be a survivor of the Chaos Brigade. He revealed their plans to them, and that's why he did all this, revealing more to the factions, even though Issei was never a traitor and was always innocent. Mr. and Mrs. Hyodui fell into a deep depression, knowing all the harm they had done to Issei, and they never stopped regretting what they had done. Back in the present, in Mr. and Mrs. Hyodui's room, Issei's ex-mother was clutching a photo album containing the few pictures of Issei as a child and of them all together as a family. But looking through the album, it was clear that there weren't many more pictures of the brunette, only those from when he was born until he was 5 years old. Since photos of family trips, birthdays, family activities, competitions, and school events, or family photos of everyone together, didn't include Issei, that's the worst part because the woman couldn't remember the last time she took a picture with her son or celebrated his birthday, since there were only photos of her other children like Eduard and Sarah. But there wasn't a single one of Issei older than 5 years old. The worst part for the brunette was that she couldn't remember the last time she had given her son anything, complimented him, congratulated him on an achievement, or offered him support. She couldn't remember the last time she had celebrated one of his birthdays or even acknowledged some of his basic preferences, like his favorite color, favorite food, or what he liked to do, or when she had shown Issei any affection. Well, the woman was being controlled by her husband, who only hugged her to calm her down, although it was difficult since he felt the same as his wife, and he felt guilty for not being a better father to Issei and for not preventing all this from happening. App 2. Let's continue where we left off in the previous chapter. In another room, there was another brunette, this was Eduard Hyodui, who was looking intently at a photo of himself, Issei, and Sarah when they were children, the only photo that existed of the three of them together before Issei was mistreated. Meanwhile, he was looking at a sphere, of course, inside a glass case. This was Drag, the Red Dragon Emperor, and it seemed that the brunette wanted to, or rather, was trying to, speak to the dragon. Eduard. Please Drag, when will you talk to me? You can't be left without a holder, Issei. I would have wanted you to at least be in good hands. He said sadly, hoping the dragon would answer him, but it was useless. Drag. Don't you dare talk about my partner like that, you brat. This is all your fault. You and your stupid family hurt my partner badly. And stop talking like he's dead, because he isn't, and he's probably disgusted by what you said. There's no one here worthy of being my host, so don't say he'd be in good hands. And what would yours be? Don't make me laugh, kid. Yours and that Alan guys are the worst people I've ever seen in my life, and I doubt Issei would agree that no one, much less you, should be my host. You're the worst piece of scum I've ever seen. Don't be a hypocrite putting words in someone else's mouth knowing they're not true. After that, Drake stopped talking to Edgewer, while the brunette just lowered his head, knowing that Drake was right in what he said, since he told him that he was the worst brother anyone could have, and that he would never be his partner, only Issei, and that he should stop speaking for the brunette, since Issei would never agree to let Drake be Edgewer's partner, after all the things he did to him. Everyone in the Hyaudui house went to sleep sadly, as that day marked 4 years since Issei was betrayed and left on the brink of death, in addition to 15 years of abuse at their hands. The next day at the sanctuary it was time for Athena and her knights to meet with the leaders of the factions. Patriarch. Is everyone ready? Issei. Yes, Patriarch, we are all ready to leave. Patriarch. Lady Athena, are you ready? Athena. If I'm ready, we can go. The others nodded and left in a magic circle, while the leaders waited for the Olympians. Zeus arrived, and after greeting each other, they were about to begin, but Zeus said to wait a little longer, as his daughter Athena was still to come to the meeting. They already knew of her and the strength of her knights from the many stories about them. Besides, they wanted to see if they could convince one of them to join them and teach their soldiers how to control their Cosmo. Auden. I don't think that's possible. Michael, Athena loves her knights very much. She wouldn't give one of them away unless he wanted it. Besides, because of the affection she has for her knights, she would be capable of waging war if necessary. Azazel. I think it's possible, old man, and moreover, what we have to offer her. Athena. Don't you think it's wrong to talk about someone when that person isn't there? To me, that's disrespectful to me. What do you think now, Mr. Azazel? Everyone else was surprised to see the goddess there, and they all greeted her and introduced themselves. They saw that she was accompanied by a somewhat older man, whom they assumed was the patriarch. But what caught everyone's attention was that she was with 6 hooded figures. Athena told them to go outside and keep watch so that no one would interrupt her meeting, which the young people agreed to, and they left the hall. This intrigued the others, making them wonder how strong Athena's knights were and if they could keep one of them to join their ranks. The meeting began, and everyone was ready. The rest of the meeting was about to start when a conceited blonde boy entered the room. This was Alan, a supreme-class demon who had turned his back on Issei, supposedly for betraying them, something they discovered the truth about after some past events. And from that day on, everyone began to regret what they had done to the brown-haired boy and started searching for him like crazy. Part of it was so that he would forgive them and fix things with him, and the other part was so that he would get them out of the trouble they got themselves into by not trusting him. This is Alan. The young man sat down in a chair and put his feet up on the table, as if he were the boss of everything, something no one could challenge for certain reasons that could harm them even more than they already were. The boy noticed the new guests and, upon seeing the young goddess, stared at her lustfully, something that was noticed by Athena herself and the others in the room, who were annoyed by the boy's attitude. They just hoped he wouldn't put his foot in it and speak. Alan. Hello beautiful, what is this cutie's name? While trying to grab the girl's hand, the god Zeus stood in the way, as if telling him not to approach his daughter. The young man clicked his tongue in annoyance, but they didn't cry. They let him do what he had done, and the goddess thanked her father for interfering in that awkward moment, which he nodded at. The goddess then introduced herself. Athena. My name is Mariana Keto, and I am the reincarnation of the goddess Athena. I came to meet you all so we can discuss the topics of this meeting. The goddess sat down in her seat, although the blonde man kept looking at her lustfully, something that was starting to annoy the patriarch and the others in the room. Auden. And what is the matter that the goddess Athena wants to discuss with us? He said this curiously, just like everyone else. Athena. It's because of Hades's return and the upcoming holy war, and humanity is in danger, especially humans, since the knights guarding Hades's soul seal informed me that the seal is almost broken, and with that, not only will Hades's soul be freed, but also the souls of the 108 specters. He said it seriously, something that worried the others who knew about it, especially since they all depended on humans for their existence and the casualties this would cause if it were to happen. They had to prepare for when the time came to fight in the war, even though Blondie always said that Hades was weak and easy to defeat, something that made the others suspicious because of the boy's arrogant attitude. Besides explaining how strong Hades and his specters were, that even the weakest rank could wipe out entire groups of soldiers like flies, which worried some of them. The others were thinking about what they should do, while still others were worried about other things, or about that missing chestnut-haired boy. While everyone's thoughts were interrupted by a certain silver-haired maid who abruptly entered the room and everyone saw her, Searches said. Searches? What's wrong, Gryphia? Why are you coming in like this? Gryphia. ESL Avivu Elto. This shocked everyone in the room, especially the leaders. Azazel. Are you sure this isn't a joke or a lie? Gryphia. Of course it's not a lie, I saw him, he's in the lower part of the castle, he reconciles me with his aura, although now he's somewhat different. Michi didn't pay any attention to that and quickly left the room to see the brunette, although a certain group of girls got there first when they heard that he had returned and left in a magic circle, while the protagonist and the rest of his fellow students were waiting for their goddesses meeting with the leaders to end, keeping watch so as not to appear to be an intruder and ruin the meeting. Something that Gryphia was going through with Milikas, but the little Redeed recognized the protagonist's aura and threw himself at him to hug him. Milikas? Issei Nai-sama, is it really you? This isn't a dream or a lie, Issei Nai-sama, is it really you? While a shocked woman was aware of this, she sensed the chestnut-haired man's aura and recognized him, though it felt somewhat different than the last time she saw him, which was 4 years ago when they left him to die in a forest. So, the woman quickly ran inside the castle to tell everyone that the chestnut-haired man was alive and back in the underworld, leaving her son alone with Issei and the other gold saints. Me? What kind of cold mother leaves her son alone with a bunch of strangers? She definitely deserves a Mother of the Year award. All this was being witnessed by Issei's fellow knights, who didn't know what to do in the face of this unexpected situation, although they and Issei himself knew that problems were coming because of the boys' interference. Their plan to go unnoticed was thwarted by Milikas, but they knew that there would be many problems they would have to deal with from now on. Tab 3. Returning to the protagonist and the situation, Issei found himself with the younger Redeed clinging to him. He could no longer hide his true identity and seemed to have to confront part of his past. Issei gently moved the boy away, giving him space and urging him to stop hugging and making him uncomfortable. The younger boy was saddened by this, as it seemed the brunette didn't want him near him. Milikas? What's wrong, Issei Nai-sama? Do you hate me? The little boy said sadly and haltingly. Issei. The thing is, son of Mau Lucifer, you're part of my past, something you shouldn't associate with me. And being the son of Mau Lucifer, you shouldn't be near someone like me. If I remember correctly, I was told in the past not to associate with any of you. He said this with a serious look, staring at the boy, who was a little frightened by that look. Milikas? Why do you say that, Issei Nai-sama? Issei. It's just the truth. You and everyone connected to my past are something that, as I said, is the past, which I shouldn't associate with because you only hurt me more than you already did that year. As he was about to turn around to leave with his other companions and get away from the younger Redeed, a certain group of non-deviant people appeared. It was the Gremory entourage and his former siblings, since at first they didn't recognize him because of his changed appearance. After all these years, they didn't know what he looked like now, and the other reason was that the brunette, like his companions, wore hoods, so it would be difficult for them to recognize him easily. So when they arrived, they saw Milikas looking sad and asked him where Issei was and which of the knights was the brown-haired one. The boy, just by looking at him, made them realize it was Issei, which surprised many because of his change in demeanor and the fact that he blushed intensely, especially the girls. They all wanted to rush to him, hug him, and apologize for what they had done to him. Sarah and Edgewer were overjoyed to see their brother again and wanted to approach him, hug him, and apologize for what they had done to him in the past before everyone betrayed him and hurt him even more. Issei noticed the presence of the newly arrived demons. But he didn't even turn to look at them, as he wasn't interested in what they were doing. That's why he didn't notice a certain Redeed approaching him, and when she was close enough, she pounced on him. He couldn't stop her in time and could only grab her shoulders to push her away. She didn't understand hints though and was kissing his face, which he disliked. He put his left hand on her face to make her stop, which annoyed the Gremory girl a little because he wouldn't let her touch him. Issei. What do you think the sister of Mau Lucifer is doing? Rias. Trying to show my love to my cute pawn. Isn't it obvious? She said this while trying to hug him again, while trying to remove the brunette's hand from her face, as he wouldn't let her kiss him unless she took his hand away. Issei. And why would I do that? As far as I know, I'm not your pawn, much less an acquaintance of you and your entourage. I am a knight and I've come with my companions to this meeting to watch over and protect our mistress. I ask that you leave. This is not a place for you. He said seriously, trying to leave with the other knights. But he was interrupted by a certain bleached blonde guy who appeared out of nowhere. Alan. Well, look who we have here, if it isn't the former pawn of my dear Rias. It seems that trash always ends up where it belongs. And now you've become Athena's obedient dog. What a strange life. You should have died when they left you in that forest, or would you rather kill what the leaders didn't? Milikas. Get out of here, Alan, nobody needs you here. Alan. TSK, you damn brat, I'll teach you to respect me. When he was about to hit the boy, he was stopped by someone. Since everyone was expecting the blow, and the boy especially had his eyes closed, but he opened them in surprise, and everyone was shocked to see that it was Issei who had delivered the blow that Alan was going to give Milikas. What surprised them even more was that a human was capable of such a blow. They still seemed to underestimate Issei, thinking it was just luck or mere instinct to move at that speed and do that. Alan was still annoyed to see that the person they considered useless could do that. Although he thought it was just luck that the chestnut-haired man's strength would run out and that an ordinary human couldn't defeat him, he also hoped to put the chestnut-haired man in his place and prove who was the best. Besides, he wanted to get rid of him once and for all, since he sensed that he could ruin the plans he had worked so hard to put together, and he wouldn't allow that. Alan. Let go of my arm, you damn useless bastard. Issei just gave Alan a serious and somewhat neutral look before letting go. Alan started cracking his arm, especially his wrist. Even though he didn't show it on his face, not wanting Alan to suspect that the brunette had hurt him, as that would make him look weak and jeopardize his plans, he had to admit that Issei was strong, because that grip definitely hurt. Alan wondered how Issei had gotten stronger. He hoped Issei wouldn't be a thorn in his side again, otherwise he'd have to finish the job the leaders hadn't done years ago. Getting rid of Issei once and for all. Issei. I will not allow an injustice like that new pass, and even less what you wanted to do to the son of Mao Lucifer. You wanted to hit a child just on a whim, and we will not tolerate that in front of me. He said it seriously and with determination in his words. But then the leaders arrived along with Athena and the patriarch who had arrived a few moments ago and witnessed what had just happened. Issei and his companions bowed before their goddess, although a certain Gremory became jealous that the brown-haired boy bowed before that woman and she said. Rias. Issei, why are you bowing to that woman? You shouldn't do that. I am your master, not her. The knights glared angrily at Gremory for daring to disrespect their goddess, though they remained calm to avoid causing a scene. Searches. Silence, Rias. Just as you must respect me and the other leaders, so too must you respect the goddess Athena, as she is our ally in our alliance. Rias. Onasama be but. Searches. No buts, apologize right now. As the heir to House Gremory, you can't be doing this kind of thing. Gremory reluctantly apologized to Athena, although it was clear that it was very forced for Gremory to do that and even more humiliating to her pride. Patriarch. Issei of Libra, can you explain what happened a few moments ago with a young Alan, who is here present? Issei. Yes, Patriarch, what happened was that I was talking with the son of Mao Lucifer and the Gremory entourage arrived a few moments ago. I was going to my knight's post with my other companions when Alan appeared, bothering me. The son of Mao Lucifer told him to leave because his presence was bothering everyone and Alan didn't like that and tried to attack the boy. That's why I interfered. I couldn't allow such injustice anymore. Like someone hitting a child on a mere whim, and that's why I intervened to prevent the situation from getting worse, Patriarch. If you think my behavior wasn't right, I apologize to you and Athena-sama, he said, bowing an apology to the Patriarch and the goddess Athena. Patriarch. You don't have to apologize for anything, Issei of Libra. You did the right thing by intervening and not allowing the situation to escalate. Athena. I agree with the Patriarch. Issei, you don't have to bow to me. Besides, you did the right thing, you shouldn't feel bad about it since you did something good by not sleeping through an injustice like that, she said, making Issei stand up and smiling at the brunette who also returned the gesture to his goddess, smiling too. Although the Gremory clan felt consumed by jealousy, seeing the way the brunette and Athena interacted, the leaders were surprised when they arrived and witnessed the scene, especially when they were told that Issei was a Libra, something they didn't understand and wanted answers for. At first, they didn't recognize him due to his changed appearance after all these years of absence, and also because he was hooded, making it even harder for them to recognize him easily. Although they had more questions than answers and asked, how is Issei with the goddess Athena? How did he become one of her knights? What does it mean that he's Issei of Libra? And how did he stay sober after they attacked him and left him more dead than alive? These and more questions plagued the leaders. Patriarch. Well, I believe the meeting is over, so we will withdraw, Mao Lucifer, as Athena-sama has important matters to attend to. With your permission, we will leave. When the Patriarch and the other knights approached the goddess to leave through a magic circle, they were mistaken for a certain crow who wanted to propose something to the goddess Athena. Azazel. What do you want? Athena. Huh. What do you mean by that, Mr. Azazel? Azazel. What do you want in return for one of your knights? Patriarch. How dare you say that to Athena-sama? She would never do that. She values her knights too much to replace and change them as if they were objects. Athena. The Patriarch is right, I would never treat my knights like that. I am not like you who change your people and subjects and the others you have as your servants, like mere objects that you can change and throw away whenever you want. She said calmly and seriously in her words because of what the crow said. Azazel. Please, Lady Athena, we know you're short-staffed for the coming war, so I'd like to offer you an army of fallen angels at your disposal in exchange for your Libra Issei Heir. Athena. Are you deaf, Lord Azazel? I already told you, my knights are loyal to me of their own free will. Whether they want to leave or stay is their decision. It's something I can't interfere with since they are their own decisions and lives, and I won't treat them like toys that I'll throw away when they're no longer useful to me, never to see them again. He thinks I don't know what they did to Issei years ago, replacing him with someone who claimed to be better. And with false evidence, they caused him the worst suffering and left him lying in a forest to die from his wounds or to be eaten by a wild animal. She said it angrily and seriously. Well, like all the factions and leaders, they tensed up to hear what the goddess said. How did they know that? Did Issei himself tell them? Although it made them sadder than before because of all the mistakes they had made. Azazel. How does he know that? Athena. I know many things, Lord Azazel, and about the others as well. Besides, this won't affect our alliance since we need each other to deal with this approaching war. Worse still, when the goddess was about to leave with her knights and the patriarch, they interrupted her again, making her turn around and say, look who said that. Michael. I propose double what Azazel offered for Issei. Searches. I propose double what these two told you. Athena. I already told you, I'm not interested in accepting anything from you, and even less so the number of soldiers or things you offer me. I won't trade one of my knights as if he were a mere bargaining chip. If he wants to leave or stay, that's his decision, not mine. Furthermore, the damage they did to Issei isn't enough for them to want him back, as if nothing happened, so he can fix your mistakes. That's very hypocritical of them. If you'll excuse me, I must return home. I have things to do. But for the last time, someone interrupted the journey of the goddess Athena and her knights, and the patriarch. This was because someone approached running with the intention of attacking the goddess, but the person wanted to slap her. When the blow was heard, everyone was surprised to see that it was Issei who received the blow for his goddess. The person who did this act was surprised, frightened, and worried when they saw what they had done. Pap 4. Everyone was shocked by what happened, especially seeing Issei receive the slap from Athena. Issei just stared, more serious than usual, looking with indifference and annoyance at the person who dared to try to attack his goddess Sarah, his former sister. She did it because she thought Athena had brainwashed Issei, so he wouldn't forgive them and would turn against them. Meanwhile, Sarah covered her mouth with her hands, frightened and regretting what she had done. Her intention hadn't been to hurt her brother. Sarah. And I didn't mean to hurt you. Issei. Miss Sarah Hyaudiui, I remind you that I am not your brother. Just because I call you by his name doesn't mean I am. Your brother died many years ago because of you and the others who betrayed him, because you replaced him with someone else, and you have no right to justify your actions. Alan didn't brainwash you. You did it because you wanted to. And they truly never valued the person they had on their side to turn their backs on her like that, and you have no right to hurt my goddess. Do it again and it will be taken as an offense against us, our goddess, the sanctuary, and Olympus. Let that be clear. Edgewer. But we are a family, we share the same blood. You'll turn your back on us for people who aren't even your own blood. I know what we did was wrong, but doesn't everyone deserve a second chance to fix things? You're a Hyaudiui. You can't do this to us. We're brothers. He said it sadly, shouting and clenching his fists, while the others watched this, the factions and leaders and the followers sadly, and hoped that Issei would soften and return to them, thinking that he would forgive them, just as he did in the past when they hurt him. Issei. Brothers, you say. The only brothers I see and have are those who have been there for me in the most difficult times, and they aren't you. Family. They have been more like family to me than you have in my entire life. I'm not Haidu, that surname was taken from me a long time ago by you and your parents. True family isn't about blood or anything else. It's about those who share adventures and achievements. Trials and difficulties with you, he doesn't mistreat you, humiliate you, and despise you, and he turns his back on you in the worst way. I tried to be fair to all of you, weighing up all the good and bad about you, and forgiving you for what you did to me, until I realized that you were never a family, much less a balanced one, since you always committed many injustices against me, something that a member of a family should not do. I was very blind and unfair to myself in trusting you all too much, in allowing so many things you did to me and not stopping it any other way. Because pretending that everything would be better only hurt me. Sarah. What do you mean? Issei. I should have left your lives a long time ago and given up everything before you stabbed me in the back with your betrayal. I was the only person who wanted your happiness and to be loved by you, but I was foolish to want the affection and respect of people who didn't deserve to have me as their family and never valued everything I did for you. Although I admit I would have preferred to have never met the others and never entered the supernatural world. It would have been the best for everyone. Hearing those words from Issei broke everyone's hearts. He said he regretted helping them so many times and wished he could disappear from their lives, never having met them or been a part of their existence. This made them feel even worse, knowing how much they had hurt Issei for him to say such things and for him to have never done all the things he had done for them, from saving so many of them from death on countless occasions. Sarah. Nyson, please don't say that. I know you're hurt by what we did and you don't know what you're saying now because of how hurt you are. She said this while approaching the brunette, trying to hug him, but he just pushed her away. Issei. Please, Miss Hyaude, don't be a hypocrite. Now that it's too late, now you want and need me. How long did I have to suffer for you to realize your mistake? How much more must I suffer to be happy and for you to leave me in peace? He turned to leave with his goddess and the patriarch and his companions, but as they were about to leave, some idiot opened his mouth. Alan. I challenge you to a gamer rating. The other saints didn't know if he was being silly or just plain stupid to ask for something like that. Everyone ignored the blonde boy since it wasn't worth paying attention to his nonsense, which made him seethe with anger because everyone ignored him until a certain raven spoke. Azazel. Excuse me, Goddess Athena, but I offer you an army of fallen angels at your disposal in exchange for your hair. Issei of Libra, what do you say? Patriarch. How dare you propose such a thing to Lady Athena? She would not replace her saints as if they were objects that can be thrown away and easily replaced. But the leaders did not listen to the patriarch and the leader of Los Angeles spoke. Michael. I'm offering him double what Azazel offered him. Searches. I'll give them 3 times what they offered me. Athena, fed up with this senseless childish situation, said. Athena. Are you deaf or pretending not to hear what the patriarch said? He's right. I will never trade my saints for anything in the world. They are loyal to me of their own free will. If they want to leave, I will let them go, choosing their own destiny and path. They would replace us as if we were objects to be thrown away and then picked up. Do they think I don't know what they did to Issei in the past? Since they left him to his fate, all to replace him with a pretty face they barely knew, I value people's actions and hearts more than their status or power, unlike you. That Alan guy must have done something wrong for you to want Issei back in such a hurry. If it weren't for me and the patriarch, Issei could have died for what you did to him. Heartless beings who don't even know how to lead and let themselves be won over by someone. This made everyone tense when they realized she was right about what she said and knew what they had done to Issei. It was clear he didn't want to go back to them, as evidenced by the hatred or resentment he felt towards them in the way he interacted with Milikas, Rias, and the others. Just as everyone was about to leave, another interaction occurred from a certain crow who wouldn't let them go yet. Azazel. I propose a gamer rating between your knight Issei against those we choose, and if we win Issei will return to the Gremory entourage, something the Gremorys were happy about and had hoped would happen. Athena. What if we win? Azazel. We won't disturb you and it won't affect our alliance. This is to see your knight's abilities. Accept. Athena was thinking, she didn't want to expose her knight to being with the people who hurt him any longer, but she also didn't want them to keep bothering him, so she accepted. Athena. Very well, I'll do it so they don't bother my knight, and if they lose, this won't affect our alliance at all, since we need all the help we can get to avoid the possible war that's coming. The others nodded and everyone went to prepare for the ratings, and the goddess Athena went to speak with her saints and the patriarch about the hasty decision she had made. Athena. I'm sorry to involve you in this, Issei. I know you didn't want to be here any longer than necessary, especially with them after all the harm they caused you. I agreed to this so they'd leave you alone and you could show them the mistake they made in betraying and trading you for that Alan guy. I feel like he's hiding something. Issei. Don't worry, Lady Athena. Sooner or later, I had to face my past, and the more time I've spent with them, the more they've become our allies. It will be an honor to demonstrate what only the Knights of Athena can do. I know most of them underestimated me for being human, but that will be their disadvantage. Athena. You're right, Issei. I know you'll succeed. I know you'll show them what you're capable of and that they shouldn't underestimate you. Issei simply bowed to his goddess and gave her a smile, which made her blush. After that, Issei went to talk about it with his other companions. Pap 5. The protagonist was with his companions talking about it since soon, his match with his former acquaintances would begin. He knew he would win, but he wanted advice from the people who had been more like family to him in these 5 years than those he had as family his whole life. Issei. And what do you think about this, guys? Naruto. They're trash for asking you to come back to them like nothing happened, especially your ex-brothers, who do they think they are to say what they did a while ago? He said this seriously and angrily because of what those pieces of trash did to his friend and brother. I'm with Naruto, they have no right to say anything. The damage is done to you, it can't be fixed with a simple apology. It's too late for forgiveness, 15 years too late. Kazuma. Besides, your exes are very hateful and unbearable, especially your ex-sister and that Redeed, who dared to give you away as if you were their property, and daring to disrespect Lady Athena, and especially your ex-sister, who tried to hurt our goddess. It certainly seems that her parents didn't teach that brat any manners. They definitely spoiled her too much to make her think she can do whatever she wants. Subaru. I didn't like the way those petty leaders spoke to us, referring to us as servants or objects like they're stones, which they can change as if they were nothing, and offering soldiers to Athena-sama in exchange for one of us in their ranks. Who do they think they are to say that? Asara. I agree with the others, but I know you'll win, Issei. You're the strongest of the 12. I know it's difficult to face your past, but you had to do it sooner or later. It would be harder than it is now. Go and show them that you never sent them in your life and that you need nothing from them. Make it clear that they mean nothing to you anymore, just a past that will stay in the past. You will decide your future yourself, not them. The brown-haired man said this with a smile, placing a hand on Issei's shoulder. The other knights joined in, supporting their friend and brother, assuring him that he could handle them and show what he was capable of, and that he did it without the help of those who betrayed him and left him to die. Issei only managed a small smile at the words of his true family, finally at peace with people who truly appreciated him. After those words of support from the saints, everyone went to where the fight between Issei and his former brothers, friends, and acquaintances would take place. The other saints were with the patriarch and their goddess, watching from the stands, while Issei stood in the middle of the fighting arena awaiting his opponents. He was already in his normal civilian clothes, as he saw no need to use his gold cloth. The Gremories and the others wouldn't be a match for him, and it wouldn't be fair to his opponents to use it with only its contained power. It would be enough against them, since if he took them too seriously, he would kill them instantly. He didn't want to cause trouble for his goddess because of their deaths, knowing that the factions were after him. He wanted to avoid doing anything unnecessary. Just then, the Gremory entourage, the Citri entourage, Vali's team, and Sekiryuutei arrived to fight our protagonist, who saw this as unfair. Even though he knew and trusted himself, it was still unjust. What were these supernatural beings doing, making so many fight against him when he was just one person? Did they think he was intimidated into surrendering and returning to them as if nothing had happened? What he suffered because of them didn't really happen. Without a doubt, they had no honor whatsoever. But Samio was pulled from his thoughts when he heard Sona Citri speak. Sona. Please, Hyautai, surrender. Exhaust yourself and we can stop all this. You just have to come back and we'll forget all of this. Rias. Issei, please surrender. I don't want to hurt you. You just have to come back to us and everything will be as it should be. Zenobia. Please, I don't want to hurt the father of my future children. Asia. Please, Issei-san, I don't want you to hurt my first friend. Irina. Please, Issei, I don't want to hurt my childhood friend. Please give up. Kaneko. Senpai, I miss you so much. Give up, Kaneko. I don't want to hurt you. Hiroka. Issei, Naya, please stop this. I don't want to hurt the father of my future kittens, Naya. Lefei. Please, Issei-sama, we're so sorry. Please give up. I don't want to hurt you. Rossweisse. Please, Issei, I don't want to hurt the person who was my student and the person I love. Ravel. Please, Issei-sama, stop this madness and come back to us. Bakeno. We promise to fix our mistake and make good compensation for what we did. Please, you just have to surrender and everything will be as it should be. Kiba. Please, Issei, I don't want to hurt my great friend. Please surrender and all this will be over. Sarah. Please, brother, surrender. I don't want to hurt my brother. Come home, mom and dad miss you so much. I promise to fix everything I did wrong. Edgewer. Brother, stop. All this doesn't have to be like this. I don't want you to get hurt. Please, I know I wasn't a good brother, but I can fix it. Ali. My eternal rival, I hope you've grown stronger after I defeat you and you return to us. We can continue our destined battle. I can't wait to see how strong you've become. Said the fighting geek, excited for the fight. Sekiryuutei. I know Issei, I didn't do anything for you, but I hope to have a good fight like in the past and you'll come back with us. This fight will decide that. Saji. Hyautai, friend, surrender. This doesn't have to end like this. Just surrender and all of this will be over. And more things the protagonist hears, his gaze lowered because of his hair. He couldn't believe so much hypocrisy in one place, and what's more, they were asking him to surrender. They were underestimating him too much just because he became human again. That wasn't fair. Not even at the start of the fight, and they were telling him to surrender like that, without fighting, without showing what he was capable of without them. And that he never needed them to be strong. He wasn't going to tolerate such injustice and unfair justifications from them. Issei. If you've finished spouting your hypocrisies, let's get this over with. I need to go to the sanctuary with my goddess and my other companions. You asked for this, there's no going back. I'll show you what I'm capable of without you. I never needed you in the past, and I certainly don't need you now. I'm a gentleman laughing before I make them regret their choice. They betrayed me, but I still have a little something left for them. Don't make me lose that little something. He said it with a serious and cold look, looking at the others, noticing their seriousness and coldness, the lack of emotion he felt towards them. But Zenobia suddenly launched herself at him with her sword, intending to strike and knock him out, ending this once and for all, and preventing the brunette from hurting him too much. But everyone was surprised to see him stop Zenovia's sword with his bare hand. He astonished everyone because of this. Issei. Zenobia, stop. Lower your sword and get out of here. I won't repeat myself. Zenobia. I won't. You're mine. He grabbed the blue-haired girl's arm, causing her to collide with Irina, who caught her. But as she moved, she attacked him. On either side were Kaneko and Kuroka. Issei. What do you think you're doing? I told you to surrender and leave. I won't repeat myself. I'm giving you the opportunity to surrender without getting hurt. You're testing my patience. Worse, the two didn't hear him and launched an attack to easily defeat him and end it all without hurting him too much, but they were wrong to underestimate the chestnut-haired boy who stopped the senjutsu attacks of the two Nekomatas, who were enveloping their fists in energy to make their blows stronger, which they were going to use to knock out the protagonist, something that didn't happen when he grabbed them by the head and made them collide with each other, leaving them stunned. And with a single punch and kick, he knocked them out with the others. While they writhed in pain from the force of the two blows he had delivered, Issei was fed up with the situation. It was clear they wouldn't listen to him, and he wanted to end this mockery once and for all. He saw Ravel, Rossweisse, Akeno, and Rias about to attack him with large energy spheres, intending to hurt him and weaken him so he would surrender. But he was tired of being underestimated for being human. He decided to take this seriously and fight back. He saw the four of them about to attack, and when their attacks coalesced into a single fiery blast, he simply stopped it with his arm and swatted it back at its owners, who hadn't managed to dodge in time and were hit full force. After the attack, the four of them fell painfully to the ground, writhing in pain from the chestnut-haired boy's attack. He could see the wounds they had received. Issei. I warned you and you wouldn't listen. Now you'll face the consequences of your hypocrisy and for exhausting my patience. For trying to attack me from behind, for wanting to gain the upper hand, and for underestimating me throughout the entire fight, I won't tolerate this any longer. You must enter. I won't return to you, and nothing will change my mind. They are my past and it will remain so, a painful past of suffering that I will never return to, and even less to you. Rosen Hyaku Ryu Ha, he said it using the technique of the Libra Knights, the 100 dragons of Rosen, which brought out 100 dragons that attacked all his opponents, leaving them badly injured and on the verge of unconsciousness. All the leaders were speechless, their mouths agape at the power Issei had just demonstrated and how he left all his opponents on the ground. Alan was so stunned he couldn't move, unable to believe what the brown-haired boy had done. Michael. What power? Surziches. Is that really Issei-kun? Azazel. How did he do something like that? He's supposed to be a simple human, without magic or sagrier. How did he do something like that? Athena. I told you my knights were strong, Lord Azazel. That's the power of a gold saint, and Issei barely used 2% of his power against them. She said it calmly, as if nothing was wrong, astonishing all the leaders. Hearing that the brown-haired boy had only used 2% of his power in the fight was astonishing. How strong Issei had become. What had the goddess Athena done to him to grant him that power? Azazel. What the hell did you do to the boy to give him that power? He shouted, grabbing the goddess by her dress. Subaru. You better take your hands off our goddess, leader of the fallen angels. He expelled some of his cosmos, making the air feel cold to the leaders, their feet freezing, and the air pressure heavy. This caused Azazel to release the woman as he felt the pressure from the other saints, especially Issei, who glared at him with disgust at what the crow had dared to do. Athena. Calm down, my knights. I'm fine. Nothing has happened. And leader of the fallen angels, I didn't do anything wrong to Issei. This is the fruit of his training to become the gold saint of Libra. This is the power that Issei always had dormant within him, the power you never wanted to see. She said this smiling as she looked back at the arena where only Issei and Alan remained. Alan was upset and nervous about the situation. Hap 6. Back with the protagonist and an Alan annoyed by what happened, who wanted to humiliate the protagonist, but Issei had a calm look. Alan. How is it possible that a useless person like you could do something like that? Something like that is impossible for someone like you. He said, shouting angrily. Issei. Nothing is impossible for a knight. We are capable of moving at the speed of light, our fists can shatter stars, make mountains tremble with a stomp, even reach the level of a god. Alan. I don't believe the nonsense you're talking. You're just a braggart talking meaningless things. Issei. Take it however you want. I don't care what you say about me, someone as fake as you who only takes advantage of other people's power. Alan, fed up with what Issei said, launched an attack on the gold saint. Issei dodged Alan's attacks with too much ease, which annoyed him. Issei felt Alan was attacking recklessly without thinking, even though they were in a serious fight. Bored, Issei wanted to finish this as soon as possible and leave with the others. He didn't like being in the underworld any longer than necessary, so he preferred to end it once and for all. Issei, you've bored me, Alan. I'd better end this once and for all, so you don't keep humiliating yourself. Rosen Shoryuha. He was surrounded by a golden aura, and everyone saw a galaxy within Issei, and they saw space and the stars. Then, a western dragon emerged from his fist and attacked Alan with great speed, sending him flying into the sky. Causing Alan to fall heavily to the ground almost at last, while the factions were shocked as Issei finished off Alan, as if he were an insignificant fly, while the leaders were worried. If Alan died, he would take with him the secret of how to save their loved ones from them, and that worried them greatly, something Athena noticed when she saw them nervous. Athena. Excuse me, leaders, for being nervous about Alan. Do you know something we don't? The leaders said nothing until the goddess's question was answered by Alan. Alan. Damn it, that really hurt. Cough cough, I still don't understand how a useless person like you got that power, which should be mine. Although I think this is your revenge, Issei, for what happened in the past, for taking away everything you loved. He said it with a mocking smile, looking at the brunette who only had a serious and calm expression, too much for the blonde's liking, who just clenched his teeth in anger. Issei. Let this be clear, Alan. I only did this because my goddess asked me to make it more than clear to the factions that I am no longer the same Issei as before. The kind Issei who forgave them everything died 5 years ago, and now I am an Issei who will not be brought to his knees, much less trampled on by anyone. I only kneel before my goddess and mistress, who has been a person with more love and heart than anyone I could have known in the past. The factions are the past for me, one I don't want to remain in, much less tolerate so much hypocrisy and regret. It's a challenge and a belated declaration that I will never return to them. You only did me a favor by opening my eyes to the fact that there was no point in continuing to sacrifice so much for people who aren't worth it and who certainly shouldn't have my love and friendship. Thanks to you, I found the family I always wanted, a teacher who was a father to me. Better than the one I had before, brothers and comrades who are family to me even though we don't share the same blood, we shared feats and adventures and unforgettable moments, and we always supported each other, and we would never abandon one of them. I no longer care what happens to the factions. I gave so much of myself for them, and how did they repay me? They left me more dead than alive in a place to be eaten by wild animals, just for someone who claimed to be better than me. Undoubtedly, it didn't take a month for them to trust him instead of me, whom they had known for years. Undoubtedly, appearances are deceiving. I would never take revenge on people who are no longer worth my time and would only continue feeding a cycle of hatred within myself. This is the end, Alan. You've already lost. As Issei was about to turn around to leave, he heard Alan laughing like a madman. Those at the sanctuary wondered what was wrong with this guy or if he had gone crazy from the beating Issei gave him. Alan. You wouldn't even save a certain matriarch Gremory and the Seraphim of Heaven and that cadre. If I die, I'll take the secret of how to save them with me. That left everyone stunned. Issei was a little annoyed by such injustice, even though they had also betrayed him. They didn't deserve to die that way because of Alan, which is why the leaders couldn't do anything. The others were surprised by what Alan said. The saints glared at Alan with hatred for committing such an atrocious act of blackmail against the factions. Patriarch. Mao Lucifer, is what Alan said true? He said seriously, looking at Gremory, who nodded. Azazel. You see, some time after we told you about Issei, Alan didn't take long to show his true intentions when he married the girls one day on the anniversary of the defeat of Trihexa. We also celebrated exchanging Issei for Alan, the rebel being who survived the Chaos Brigade attack, although they escaped. We couldn't kill Alan. Because that day, during the toast, he did something that poisoned the Gremory clan matriarch, the Seraph Gabriel, and Cadre Penemu. They've been in a deep sleep and we did what we could to help them, but nothing works. Each time, the poison slowly kills them. Athena. And you couldn't take the antidote from Alan and give it to them. Searches. We couldn't because when we did several tests with their blood to find the antidote, it was obvious that Alan would never give it up on his own, so we did our own research. But we saw that we needed some of the poison Alan used to make the antidote because we noticed an unknown toxin. One that none of us had ever seen before. But that wretched Alan had already taken the poison, and it seems he was injecting it into himself in small doses to become immune. We need his blood, but he said it has to be voluntary, because otherwise the antidote would be incomplete and kill them instantly. That's why, even though we want him dead for what he did, we can't let him die now, because they would die too. That's why we want Issei to come back with us to fix our mistake, so he can put Alan in his place and talk him into giving us his blood for the antidote. Then, after saving them, we can arrest Alan for his crimes and make things right with Issei. Naruto. Seriously, how can you be so hypocritical asking that Issei continue fixing the disasters you caused by never seeing his potential and trusting him, by trusting his trashy brothers and a pretty face who turned out to be an infiltrated enemy whose attitude never seemed suspicious to you and who appeared out of nowhere. And they want to use our brother again and Karada as their object again. Without a doubt they are a disgrace as people and leaders. They provoked all this because of their pride and lust for power," he said, shouting furiously at the audacity of the leaders in that plan for Issei to return with them. "Irina. I know we made a mistake with him, but we can fix it." Subaru. "A mistake, girl. You say what you did was one mistake after another with him. How much he had to put up with you his whole life. You don't deserve anything from him, much less his help. Let this be a lesson to you. You never know what you have until you lose it. That's exactly what you did with Issei. You never valued anything about him until after you lost him. Then you realized the truth." He said this seriously, with an icy, frightening look that sent a chill down everyone's spine. Asara. Without a doubt, they're shameless to plan that and try to get Issei back, as if he were an object they can throw away and pick up whenever they please. The other saints gave their respective comments on what the leaders said about what Alan did and that they wanted Issei to help them solve the problems they got themselves into. Athena. Calm down, my knights. Although they don't deserve any of Issei's help, it's his decision whether he wants to help him. Yes or no, we will help, but only because of our alliance, not because we actually like them. Because we don't want to allow people to continue suffering because of the mistakes of others, let's take the sick ones to where they are. The leaders looked at each other and nodded, then took Athena, the saints, and the patriarch to where the sick women were. Issei was already with them because he didn't want to keep seeing Alan, who had fainted from his injuries. Patriarch. Undoubtedly, his condition is grave, Lady Athena. Athena. Yes, Patriarch, we need Tsuna Varies for this. Naruto of Leo, you can go for your partner since you are the right one, being one of the fastest. Naruto. As I ordered, Athena-sama. To disappear in a single breath, the speed of the Gold Saint still surprised all the factions. Azazel. I am still surprised by the abilities of your knights. Athena. You still underestimate my knights for being human, Azazel-san. That's not good, especially since we helped you to do the right thing, not for your own sake. Have you identified what kind of toxin they have, Kasuma of Pisces? Kasuma. Yes, Athena-sama, the toxin is the poison of the crimson roses of the sanctuary. But I don't understand how Alan managed to get one of them. I don't know if they can be saved. Their bodies reject the poison, unlike Alan, who was taking it in small amounts to resist it, although from what we saw, it almost cost him his life. Their illness is so advanced that if they aren't given the antidote today, I don't think they'll survive until tomorrow. This worried all the factions and their families. Then Naruto appeared with Tsuna Varies. Tsuna. I'm here, Athena-sama. I'll do everything possible to cure the sick. Azazel. Everything possible sounds like you're doubting. I said they would be saved. Patriarch. I ask you to calm down and not raise your voice at us, leader of the fallen angels. We said we would do everything possible to help you. We're helping you because we want to, not because it's our responsibility to help you because we have an alliance with you. And especially regarding something you yourselves caused, which is not our responsibility to do. Azazel was about to reply to what the Patriarch said, but Auden grabbed his shoulder and said. Auden. The Patriarch is right, Azazel. We brought this on ourselves, and we can't demand your help like this for something that's solely our fault. It doesn't matter. We're allies. It's something we caused in the first place, so let's let you do your job. The fallen saint fell, and Tsuna checked them. What Kazuma said about the poison turning into an antidote was true, something that worried the sick people's acquaintances and relatives. Tsuna. I already have most of the ingredients to cure them, but I need blood and a bit of a gold saint's cosmo. I'll give it to them, and they'll be better. Surziches. That's perfect. Now, please, can you give your blood to save them? Athena. Remember, Mao Lucifer, we are allies, but my saints, it's your decision whether you want to do it or not. I can't force you to do something like that without your consent. Surziches. But. Patriarch. No buts, I already hear that Athena-sama Mao Lucifer. But then someone raises their hand, surprising everyone, especially the knights, the Patriarch, and Athena. She smiled, knowing how Issei is in helping the Demona, no matter who they are. Issei. I'll do it. Patriarch. Are you sure, Issei of Libra? Issei. Of course, Patriarch. I've made my decision to help you. Surziches. Oh, thank you very much, Issei-kun. You will be very well rewarded for this. Azazel. From me as well. When this is over, you can ask me for anything you want as a reward. Michael. From me too. Issei was annoyed by what the leaders said. He wasn't doing this for a reward. He was doing it because it was the right thing to do. Without a doubt, in these years, literally no one had changed anything. Once he left, he just sighed and approached Suna, who had a container where he would put the bloody unleashed. It was a leader. Issei understood and made a cut on his wrist, expelling his Cosmo as the blood fell into the container. Once he finished and Suna had what he needed, he healed himself with his Cosmo, and Suna had finished making the antidote. Suna. The antidote is ready. It just showed signs of life, and they'll probably be better. We'll have to wait and see. Azazel. He probably said he would heal them, that sounded like we should leave everything to luck and if that doesn't happen. He tried to grab Athena's clothes, but Issei grabbed her hand tightly, since he didn't like what the fallen saint tried to do, nor did the patriarch or the other saints. Issei. Don't you ever try that again. Athena-sama, leader of the fallen angels, and we said we would only help because we were doing the right thing. We never said it was our duty as allies, and whether the antidote will work depends on their will to live, and nothing else. Issei let go of the fallen angel, clutching his hand in pain, amazed by Issei's strength. Auden told him to calm down and not add fuel to the fire. As the sanctuary staff were leaving, one of the servants said that the two women had woken up and everyone was happy and went to see them. Surzich's. Mother, I'm so glad you're alright, said the Redeed next to his sister, hugging Venelana, who returned the hug. Azazel. It's good to have you back, Penemu. I'll finally take a break from all this work. He said this while comically crying, causing everyone at the sanctuary to sweat from all the drama, especially since Michael agreed, hugging Gabriel. Penemu? Seriously? Is that why you wanted me back, Azazel? So I could do your job like always, while you go around like a lazy drunk? If that's why you wanted to bring me back, you shouldn't have. She said this while pushing Azazel, and Gabriel did the same to his brother. Issei. Ahem, sorry leaders, but we have to go back to the sanctuary now. Surzich's. Oh, I understand, Issei-kun, but first we'll give you your reward for saving you and helping us. The three women were surprised to see the chestnut-haired boy. Gabriel and Penemu started crying with happiness at seeing him again, but he completely ignored them, which saddened them to see that he didn't even want to see them. Gabriel and Penemu. Issei-kun, is that you? Issei. Oh, hello Gabriel and Penemu. He said it in a dry and cold manner towards them. They held back their emotions even more. Issei. Well, leaders, let me make it clear that I don't want any reward and even less anything from you. I only helped you to do the right thing, not to receive thanks from you. But before he left, he heard Venelana speak. Venelana. It's good to see you, Issei-kun. Issei. Hello Lady Gremory, it would be nice not to see you in this state after what happened with your children and the others. He said it coldly, which saddened them to know that Issei was still angry with them for what they had done to him his whole life, especially the way they left him almost to die 5 years ago. Venelana. Don't be so formal. You can call me Venelana anyway. You're part of the family, since I know you and my daughter will be happy together and will fix your engagement. Rias is happy and hopeful that Issei will return to them and they can fix their mistake and give him all the love they denied him because of their own stupidity. Issei. With all due respect, Lady Gremory, there's nothing your daughter and I can fix. We're not family and neither is your family. This is something personal, related to what happened in the past. I don't feel anything for any of you anymore. Even though you didn't attack me like your children, you did nothing to help me, knowing you had the chance. And none of this happened. That means you never believed in me, much less trusted me. Venelana remained silent, as Issei was right about everything he said. Seeing that she wasn't defending herself or trying to cover up what happened, she didn't say anything. Issei. Your silence is more than enough for me to see that I'm right. With your permission, it's time for the patriarch, Athena-sama, and my companions. So, to be with the others and disappear in a magic circle, he returned to the sanctuary, leaving the factions very sad for not having managed to convince Issei to stay, while Rias hugged her mother, saying she was a fool. Rias. Mother, I'm a fool, sniff sniff, for hurting him so much. Venelana just hugged her daughter, comforting her, and Rias thought to herself that she would get him back and would do anything to have the brunette by her side again. While the leaders were sad, Auden said they would have a chance to continue interacting with Issei, since when he was close and greeted him, he had put Drag inside Issei without him noticing, while Issei's brother said that was impossible since he was in his room. Auden. You know, kid, you're very easy to steal, honestly, I just hope this goes well. Pap 7. Our protagonist could be seen in the Libra temple, reflecting on what had happened. It had done him good to confront his past and tell his traitors the truth to their faces, that he was no longer the same Issei he once was. He wouldn't let anyone walk all over him anymore, and we see how much they had hurt him. His former family meant nothing to him anymore. They weren't family, or perhaps they never truly were, and they would never be again. It was too late to fix the past, much less be a family again, the family that had been so happy, a family ruined by their own mistakes, a happy family that would never return. Issei. It's been so long since I weighed everything up, but at least I feel free after facing my past. Although I know they won't stop bothering me to come back to them, this will be annoying. Dealing with the hypocrisy of my former siblings and parents, with the Gremory clan and my former acquaintances, and with the leaders, but at least I now have a home and a real family. My knight friends, who are more than my comrades, are brothers to me. Then he sensed the cosmos of two of his companions near him. It was Naruto of Leo and Rito of Virgo. Naruto. Hey Issei, you're still thinking about what happened today at Athena-sama's meeting with the factions, aren't you? Issei. Yes, but I feel better now that I've told them the truth to their faces and let out everything I felt and kept inside for so many years, so many things I always wanted to say to them. But I couldn't because I believed they would ever change, but that day never came until now, with their apologies that are empty to me. They never realized the magnitude of their mistakes towards me. Or maybe they did know, but they didn't care. Rito. Remember, Issei, you'll always have all of us. You're not alone. We all suffer in different ways, but we get up to keep going, no matter what the people who hurt us and turned their backs on us think. He said this while putting a hand on Issei's shoulder. Naruto did the same, smiling and offering his support. The brunette smiled, feeling grateful to have people like them in his life, and he would strive to protect them. While Athena was talking with the patriarch about how they needed to find several of the lost cup and lyre cloths, because that would give them an advantage in the upcoming war with Hades. The patriarch told her that the gold saints needed to know these locations to search for the cloths, since they had the coordinates for the parts of each cloth. Athena was worried about her saints, though, because the coordinates for each part of the two cloths were in their former homes. She knew that sooner or later her knights would have to face their past, but she didn't expect it to be so soon. She only hoped that nothing bad would happen to her knights, but she trusted that they could face this test of life and whatever else the future held in store for them. The next day, all the gold saints stood before their goddess and the patriarch, wondering why their goddess and the patriarch needed them, but they felt it would be important. Natsu. Athena-sama, patriarch, may we know the reason why you summoned us? Athena. It's simple. The reason, Natsu of Taurus, is that our researchers found the coordinates of the parts of the cup and lyre cloths. This greatly surprised the saints, as it was big news, since it would give them a great advantage in this holy war against Hades. Shido. That's great news, Athena-sama. I agree with Shido, but where are they? We can't let them fall into the wrong hands. The other knights nodded in agreement with what their companion said, since if that happened, it would be horrific chaos and would affect their chances of winning this war and saving the world from Hades' clutches. Patriarch. The bad news, boys, is that you're in your former homes. All the saints were shocked by what the patriarch said. Ichika. This is a joke, right, Athena-sama? The blonde shook her head, confirming that what the patriarch said was true, leaving the saints speechless with shock. They had to return to the places that betrayed them, that discarded them like trash, and that hurt them so much. And there was a possibility that they would encounter the people who failed them and hurt them so much emotionally, physically, and psychologically. Please, Athena-sama, this can't be true. You know what all my companions and I suffered in those places. Athena. I know. Even if it weren't absolutely necessary, I wouldn't ask you. Hades' army is about to awaken and they will seize any opportunity to win this war. The world depends on us. We cannot allow innocent people to suffer the consequences of this war. The saints watched as their goddess knelt before them, pleading for their help, not as heroes, but as the pure-hearted and courageous people she had known and still knows. The saints were surprised to see what their goddess was doing, but they knew they had to do the right thing. They knew that sooner or later they would have to face their past, not as those boys who had been betrayed, but as the gold saints they were now. They could not allow innocent people to suffer for mistakes that weren't theirs, for not facing this test that life was giving them to overcome their weaknesses and move forward. Issei approached his goddess and helped her to her feet. He smiled at her with determination in his eyes, and he, along with his companions and brothers, knelt before their goddess and said, Issei. Don't worry about us, Athena-sama. We will always support you and protect you with our lives. Basara. We swore to serve you for the rest of our lives, and we will not fail in that. Suna. We swore not only to protect and defend you from all evil, but also to protect this world from all evil. Subaru. It is time to face our past and overcome this test that life has given us to prove that we are no longer weak, especially those boys who suffered in the past. It is time to move forward to the end of our path that awaits us. Kazuma. You, Athena-sama, as the patriarch and the world, can always count on us, the knights who will protect you and, if necessary, give our lives for this world. Ichika. We will not let this world sink into the darkness of Hades. We are the light of hope that this world needs. Naruto. We will protect everyone who needs it, no matter who they are. That is the duty of a knight. Asta. We will win this war for you, Athena-sama, and the world. Shido. We will not let Hades win this holy war. All. We will always fight together until the end. They raised their heads, looking into the eyes of their goddess and the patriarch, and said all of this with determination in their words, and looks full of courage. Athena and the patriarch smiled at the words of their knights, knowing that they had chosen their saints well for their hearts, bravery, and determination to do what was right and protect those important to them. Athena. Thank you all for your words. I appreciate them very much. Rito. Athena-sama, may we know in which places near our former homes the pieces of the armor are located and which ones we should go for first. Athena. Well, we found the closest coordinates to the helmet of the Lyra armor, which, according to some news reports, was found by the government scientists who run the Is Academy. The helmet is in the custody of the Orimura family, so Ichika of Capricorn, I want you to go to the one who knows the most about the place. That surprised Ichika a lot. He really hadn't expected that, but he was calm about the situation. He knew his goddess was right in what she said, and so he would do. It was time to face his past, and he wouldn't back down from it. Ichika. As you command, Athena-sama. Athena. The other part of the lyre cloth is in Seinen City. Therefore, Rito of Virgo, it will be your mission to go there. Rito was just as surprised as Ichika to have to return to his old home. And there was the possibility that he would run into his traitors. But he knew he couldn't back down from this. It was time to leave the old Rito behind and move forward, not to look back. He had a real home in the sanctuary and real friends who were his family, who would always be there for him, unlike those who abandoned him for not being good enough for them. With truth and determination, he said. Rito. At your service, Athena-sama. I will fulfill the mission. It's time to move forward and leave all the pain and what was behind and follow my own path. Athena. That's the spirit, Rito of Virgo. I know you will all succeed, Knights of Hope. Patriarch. Remember, Knights of Capricorn and Virgo, use any method you deem necessary to obtain the pieces of the lyre cloth. We cannot allow them to fall into the wrong hands, and especially not into those of Hades and his experts. Ichika and Rito. As you command, Patriarch. They said it at the same time, bowing in respect to the Patriarch. Athena. You will depart tomorrow afternoon. Prepare yourselves, boys. There are planes that will take you to your destinations. I wish you the best of luck and a safe return. The two nodded, kneeling before their goddess. Patriarch. You may now retire, boys. Rest well. The knights nodded and withdrew, leaving their goddess and the Patriarch alone in the room. Athena. I hope Rito and Ichika return safe and sound, and I hope they confront their past. I know they will overcome this trial that life has just placed before them. Patriarch. Don't worry, Lady Athena, they will overcome every trial and obstacle they set for themselves. They were well trained by their respective masters. They will know what to do and how to manage to get out of any problems and difficulties that arise. Athena nodded at the Patriarch's words, more at ease, knowing that her saints would be alright and overcome this. Hap 8. A plane could be seen arriving at an airport where a young man was getting off. It was Ichika, the Capricorn Knight, since it was a Keto Foundation plane, and he was there to fulfill his mission, which was to find one of the pieces of the lyre cloth. Although he didn't like being there, he had to fulfill his mission, face his past, and he had to do it sooner or later, because if he did it later, it would be more difficult than now. Ichika. It's the first time in years I've been back in this place, bringing back bad memories. He said this while remembering when he was little, his former older sister used to take him to elementary school when they were happy, but knowing that all that changed because of the other bad things that happened, making him frown. These memories of the past are one annoyance after another. Those happy memories are in the past because of their own actions. I have a mission, and I won't let the pain and bitter memories of the past stop me. Meanwhile, elsewhere, an academy could be seen specifically, his academy. In an office, Jifayu Orimura, Ichika's former older sister, was looking at a photo of herself and Ichika when he was little. Jifayu. Ichika, little brother, I shouldn't have left you. I was a bad sister. I hope you forgive me. She said, crying and hugging the photo. Madoka. Sister, we will find my brother, and we will fix our mistake and bring him back home with us. Jifayu gave a small, sad smile, hoping to be able to find her old little brother again and never betray him or abandon him again. Just then, their mother, Yumeno, entered. Yumeno. Hello daughters, you have to go to school. I know you miss your brother. I miss him too, but there's no other choice but to move forward and hope he's alright. And pray that we find him someday and can be the family we should have been. The two girls nodded at what their mother said and went to get ready, although all three women were sad, wishing they could see their former brother and son again and undo their past mistakes. Although they didn't know they would be reunited with Ichika, they wouldn't recognize him, to the point that they couldn't believe he had changed so much. And that it would be difficult, almost impossible, to make him forgive them for what happened 4 years ago. Meanwhile, Ichika's plane had already landed, arriving in the city. He took a taxi to a hotel run by the Keto Corporation so he could stay comfortably and carry out his mission without any problems. Ichika. Miss Mariana certainly took some risk sending me to such a luxurious hotel, but oh well, I hope this mission doesn't get more complicated than necessary. The young man from the Capricorn constellation went to check in. At the hotel, they gave him his room and he went to rest as it was already late. He was just hoping he wouldn't run into his former family. But he knew the probability was too high, something that only made him sigh, somewhat annoyed, but not too much. So he decided to go to sleep and then the next day he got up to start his mission since he wanted to find out how much everything had changed in the 4 years he hadn't been there. And furthermore, to avoid unnecessary problems, he went to the Is Academy, going undercover to avoid being recognized. He wore a hood, a cap and sunglasses. Ichika. I forgot that this place is big, but it's small compared to the sanctuary. She started browsing, looking at information that, after her disappearance, in the first 10 months, important information was revealed. That the ex-fiancés of her ex-partners, sisters and friends were traitors and agents of Phantom Task, and they revealed the truth. That they wanted to get rid of Ichika and steal information from the Academy and the Is intelligence unit in order to steal them. Although fixing the situation was somewhat complicated, they managed to recover and prevent Phantom Task from achieving their goal. Consequently, all of Ichika's former acquaintances were searching for him like crazy, regretting the cruel things they had said and put him through. They wanted to atone for their past mistakes, and that's why Ichika saw a wanted poster with the aforementioned information about him and a reward of 1 million yen for anyone who found him or provided information, leaving their contact numbers if they had any information about Ichika. This annoyed him like never before, while in his mind he cursed such hypocrisy. Ichika Pav. I don't know whether to laugh, curse, or feel sorry for such hypocrisy. After everything they said and did to me, how they belittled me and replaced me with those guys who were only slightly better than me at something, they fell for their games and didn't think they were actually infiltrated enemies. When I told them more than once that I suspected them, they just said I was jealous and kicked me out of my home like I was an abandoned dog. Fine, with their hypocrisy, and they try to find me and demand a reward for me, as if I were a dog they can skate and mock and run around and throw out whenever they want. It's the worst. Without a doubt, to think they had some dignity and would forget about me, and that would be better, they come out with this. Stupidity is definitely in the air, something I don't want near me. He said it angrily and coldly, but sat down on a bench to eat peacefully before leaving that place. It brought back somewhat bitter memories that he didn't want to recall for the moment, although he knew he would have to meet with non-deviant people again, even if he didn't want to, and he knew it was because of his mission, which was very important. But then he saw an explosion erupt from the ground, which he managed to dodge. He saw someone emerge from the hole. The woman with a slender curvy figure, pinkish purple hair and eyes of the same color, wearing a blue dress with ruffles that revealed part of her cleavage and robotic rabbit ears, this was Tabane Shinanono. Creator of Is and older sister of Haoki, Ichika's ex-partner and acquaintance. The woman, upon seeing our Heir, threw herself into a joyful embrace, while Ichika, not expecting this, suddenly wondered what to do about the situation. Tabane. Icon, you're back. She threw herself into his arms, happy to see him, but not expecting him to close himself off, letting her fall face first to the ground. Ichika. Hello, Miss Tabane Shinanono, he said this in a constant and cold tone to the woman, who was confused and nervous because of how he treated her and the way he spoke to her. Tabane. Icon, why are you talking to me like this, and why didn't you let me hug you? Ichika. First of all, don't call me that. Second, don't be a hypocrite. You know what you and your sister did to me, and you have the nerve to approach me like nothing happened. And third, how did you find me and recognize me? I was so well disguised. Tabane. Well, it's easy. It was because I put a tracker on you, but she was startled by Ichika's icy, sharp deathly glare. Ichika. How dare you put a tracker on me without my consent? He said it furiously at the woman's audacity in putting a tracker on him, knowing how capable she was of doing many things without others' consent. And I must have drugged him with something so he would fall asleep and put the tracker on without him noticing. Tabane. Icon, I'm sorry, but she was grabbed by the ears by an Ichika annoyed with the woman. Ichika. For the last time, don't you ever call me that again, you hear me? It's enough trouble for me to be in this shithole of a place and to face my past without having to put up with you and your childhood friend and your stupid crawling bitch of a sister. He let go of her, letting her fall roughly to the ground. I hope I'm clear, you damn stupid, childish, traitorous, good-for-nothing bunny. The woman nodded fearfully, tears streaming down her face as she left the place crying, while Ichika calmed down with a sigh, remembering what had happened moments before. He preferred to stay there. He wasn't in the mood to remain in that place. Besides, knowing that fool Tabane, she would tell Chifuyu he was there. And that fool would be running around the entire academy like crazy looking for him. And he wasn't keen on putting up with her right now, and the rest was to be expected given her appearance there. He knew there were too many people, and he wanted to draw as little attention as possible to his return to the city, so he quickly left for his hotel to rest and organize his thoughts and emotions for whatever might come. Elsewhere, Chifuyu was watching the entire academy festival, smiling happily until Tabane entered, crying, and hugged her friend. Chifuyu. Calm down, Tabane. Tell me what happened that made you cry. Tabane. Sniffy-kun came back to the academy, but he's not the same as before. The black-haired girl, surprised by what Tabane said, grabbed her shoulders, startled. Chifuyu. Are you serious, Tabane? My little brother is here. He's alive and back. I have to see him. Where is he? Where did you see him, Tabane? Tabane. In the festival area. Chifuyu let go of Tabane and ran off to find Ichika to fix her mistake, apologize to him, and try to make amends for all the mistakes she made with him and be a better sister. Tabane. But he's not the same as before. She shouted sadly to her friend, who didn't hear her and continued running through the hallways while her students watched, wondering what was wrong that made her run so fast. Tap 9. Ichika returned to his hotel, sitting in his room thinking about what had happened with Tabane and what she had said to him, which had irritated and annoyed him, but he knew he had to calm down, since he didn't want this to affect his mission and cause him more problems than necessary. Ichika. Damn that nosy rabbit. She'll ruin my mission if she lets those stupid girls and my ex-family find me sooner than expected. Grrrr. My reunion with my ex-family and acquaintances will be on my own terms, not because of some brainless childish rabbit. But first, I have to get rid of this tracker. Ichika began channeling her Cosmo to find the scouter and prevent it from causing her further problems. Upon finding it, she extracted it from her body and destroyed it completely, ensuring that no one could find it. Ichika. It's a relief to finally get rid of that thing, one less problem for me. Now I'll definitely have to stay further away from that rabbit than ever before and prevent her from getting near me. I don't want her to do anything like that to me again. I'd better rest for a while. The encounter with that rabbit left me with a headache from putting up with her nonsense. The knight settled down in bed and fell asleep, having endured a long and troublesome day and hoping tomorrow would be different. Meanwhile, elsewhere, with Chifuyu, the moment Ichika left the festival area, Chifuyu appeared, frantically searching for the porter with her eyes. Chifuyu. Ichika, little brother, where are you? I can't see you. She started running around looking for him, but without success. After a while, she checked the academy security cameras and saw that Tabane was with someone whose face was completely covered. She knew, based on Tabane's words, that it must be Ichika, since Tabane only interacted in that childish way with her, Ichika, and her younger sister. Although she hadn't expected him to act like that with Tabane, knowing how well they used to get along, she planned to scold Ichika for behaving that way with Tabane. While the inventor could be annoying and childish all the time, that wasn't a reason to treat her that way. She didn't think Horomura behaved like that. She believed he was acting this way because he was still a little angry with them about what had happened a while ago. Sabai knew she would have to reward Ichika handsomely for what she had done and would make everything right. She decided to tell her parents, sister, and acquaintances. A little while later, they were all gathered in her office, where they were all confused as to why she had called them in such a hurry, although they thought it must be something important, given that it was her. Aoki. Horomura-sensei, why did you call us so far in advance? Cecilia. You must do something very important, right? Chifuyu. It's about Ichika. She said it seriously, leaving everyone in shock at what the black-haired girl said, and they wondered what Ichika had to do with it, although they wondered hopefully if perhaps Chifuyu had gotten some information about his whereabouts. Charlotte. What's happening with him? Have they found him yet, or do you know anything about where he is? Chifuyu. You'll see, today at the Academy Festival, something happened that I myself didn't expect, and it has to do with Ichika. She said this seriously and thoughtfully, hiding her nervousness and excitement. Laura. And what would that be, sensei? Chifuyu. What happened is that today at the festival, Ichika appeared. Everyone present was in shock at what the dark-haired girl had said. They couldn't believe Ichika was back and at the academy. But they wondered why none of their acquaintances recognized him. Unless he had changed too much, which was why no one recognized him, and there was a possibility he was undercover, which would explain why no one had seen him. Umeno. Ah, did you see him, daughter? Where is he now? Is he still here at the academy, or is he here right now? She said it with a mix of enthusiasm, anxiety, and worry about what might have happened to her son during all this time. Chifuyu. You see, Tabane saw her at the festival, and she didn't react well to seeing her. She told them how Ichika treated Tabane, something Haoki didn't like about how she treated her older sister. Cecilia. That's great news. We have to go for it. She said happily, like the other Ichika exes who wanted to see their beloved again and apologize for all the harm they did to him when they betrayed him like that. Meanwhile, Ichika's parents, like Yumeno, Marshall and Madoka, were happy to know that their son and brother was okay and could see him again and fix their mistake with him. Charlotte. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go find Ichika-kun. Where is he now so we can go see him? Jafai. The bad thing is, according to what Tabane told me, that he removed the tracker he put on Ichika a while ago and we can't track him down to find him right now. Marshall. But he must still be in town since he just arrived and I don't think he just left. It would be very strange if, after so much time, we only see him again and he just appears and disappears like nothing happened. It would be very strange. Yumeno. So we'll have to look for him now that he's in the city, it'll be easier than it's been years. I want my son back. The others felt the same way and withdrew and went to look for Ichika. The next day, Ichika left her hotel to relax and have breakfast after the long and complicated day she'd had the day before. So she went to a restaurant to eat something before thinking about how to put her plan into action to recover one of the armor pieces she was looking for. Ichika. Finally I can get some rest after the bad time that rabbit put me through yesterday. At that moment, a waitress approached to attend to him, although she was blushing at how attractive the Golden Saint was, as were the other women in the place who were devouring Ichika with their eyes. Waitress. Good morning sir, what would you like to eat? Ichika. Hello, good morning miss. Please bring the special breakfast item you have today. Waitress. As you wish, sir, your order will be ready in a few minutes. The waitress left while Ichika read the newspaper, watching the news. Although she didn't like that the Is Academy and the Orimura family were looking for him, her former acquaintances were undoubtedly ruining her plans. Then the waitress arrived with her order. Waitress, here is your breakfast sir. Enjoy your meal. Ichika, thank you very much miss. The waitress nodded and went back to serving her other customers. Ichika. Finally, this looks delicious, she said while happily eating her breakfast, which was scrambled eggs with bacon and a coffee. After eating, I paid the bill, as I wanted to avoid a possible unwanted encounter with his ex-sisters and ex-partners. A while later, he was already in front of the Orimura mansion, knocking on the door. Chifayu, who was near the hallway and entrance, opened it and they were both quite surprised to see a very handsome young man at the door. She felt he looked familiar until she recognized him. Knowing it was Ichika, the dark-haired girl longed to hug her little brother. Ichika, good evening Miss Orimura. I wish to speak with your father, Mr. Orimura, about something important. Chifayu. Ichika, little brother, you're back. The black-haired girl opened her arms, wanting to hug her little brother after so long without seeing him. But all the dark-haired girl received from him was a cold, sharp stare that told her not to come any closer or she'd regret it, which left her bewildered and somewhat frightened. Seeing how her younger brother treated her and gave her that look, just as Tabane had described. Ichika. Miss Orimura, I politely ask that you not mistake me for someone I'm not. I'm not your brother, and I only came to speak with your father about important matters, nothing more. He said this politely but curtly, showing not a trace of emotion or sympathy towards her. Chifayu was hurt when he said he wasn't her brother, rejecting any blood pact with her, something that made her sad to hear him say that, and the way he said it with a hint of hatred in his voice. Chifayu. Ichika, why are you wearing that outfit? Why are you only showing up now? Where have you been? Why do you need father? Have you been eating well, and how have you been? Where have you been all this time? And why did you say we weren't siblings? And what have you been doing all this time? Ichika. As I told you, Miss Orimura, I've come to speak with your father, not you. And secondly, you have too many questions that I don't intend to answer. As I said, I'm not your brother. He died a long time ago. And to me, you mean nothing. And if you'll excuse me, if you won't take me to your father, I'll find him myself. He said this as he entered the house, pushing Chifayu out of his way. Chifayu still couldn't believe Ichika's words, the way he acted towards her, and the cold, cruel words he said to her, devoid of any feelings. His attitude towards her was too sharp and abrupt, which made her very nervous. But she snapped out of her shock, and with her pride as Orimura, she wasn't going to let Ichika treat her like that, knowing that he hated her and still resented her for the way she'd sidelined and abandoned him. She wanted to make amends for her past mistakes with him and be a better sister to Ichika. But that didn't give him the right to treat her like that, knowing that no matter how angry he was with her, they were still family, whether he liked it or not. Pap 10. Our beloved saint was at his former family's house to retrieve one of the armor pieces he was searching for. But for the moment, he had to deal with one of his former sisters. Ichika. So, Miss Orimura, will you tell me where your father is, or do I have to look for him myself? She said it coldly, which made Chifayu a little nervous, although she refused to show it. But before Chifayu could say anything, Madoka appeared. Upon seeing Ichika, she tried to hug him, but he easily dodged her. Madoka. Ani-chan, why are you avoiding me? Where have you been all this time? We've all been very worried about you. She said it, feeling both happy and nervous because of the look her brother was giving her. Ichika. As I told your sister, Miss Madoka Orimura, I'm not related to either of you. I only came because I have important business with Mr. Orimura, and since no one wants to tell me where he is, I'll have to find him myself. The protagonist started walking, but before he could move far, a voice stopped him. Marshall. Why do you need me, Ichika? If it's to return to the Orimura clan after disappearing for so long and not returning, leaving many worried about you. Ichika's ex-father said it coldly and seriously, but the saint wasn't fazed by his ex-father's gaze. Instead, he returned the look, surprising the man and making him nervous inside, since none of his children had ever dared to look at him like that. For his only son to look at him like that was something he hadn't expected, especially with such coldness. Although he was surprised to see his son's appearance, looking like a grown man, and even more so considering he had done it without him. Something that saddened the man, as he had wanted his son to become a man with his help and advice, but now it was too late for that, especially since he hadn't trusted his son. But he was quickly pulled from his thoughts by Ichika's voice, who began to speak. Ichika. If Mr. Orimura thinks I came back for that, you're very wrong. What I do with my life is my business, not your family's. I don't belong to them, and I only came because I have business to attend to with you related to my work. I'm an ambassador of Greece, and I'm here because of the Kido family. This greatly surprised the man and the two girls until Ichika's ex-mother appeared. The woman was serious, but inside she was happy that her son was back and wanted to hug him. Himeno. This isn't how we raised you, Ichika, to speak to your family like that. We have a lot to talk about, young man. Especially knowing where you've been and what you've been doing all this time. We've been looking for you and very worried about you and your well-being. The saint looked coldly at the woman with a sharp gaze that made her nervous, as she hadn't expected her own son to look at her like that. Ichika. I am not of your family, Mrs. Orimura, and where I was is none of your business. I ceased being an Orimura a long time ago. You expelled me and took away my surname simply for not being as good as your favorite daughters and not being like those boys you claimed were better than me at controlling an is. But as I said, and have been repeating since I arrived, I didn't come back to be part of your family again. I came on important business as the ambassador of Greece and as a servant to the Kido family. Everyone present felt their hearts crush at the cold words of their son and brother. They felt the coldness, resentment and displeasure in his words when he spoke of them, but they wondered what important matters Ichika was referring to. Marshall. What matters do you need to discuss with us, Ichika? Ichika. You, your family, and the academy possess a piece of ancient armor that is a treasure from Greece, and these treasures are protected by the Kido Foundation. So, I'm asking you to give me the helmet, which is a part of that ancient armor. Defy you. But what if we don't want to? Besides, we're investigating the strange power it possesses. Ichika. You have 2 days to hand over the helmet willingly. Otherwise, we'll proceed legally and you'll be in trouble with Greece and the Kido Foundation. Don't get yourselves into any more trouble and I expect you to hand over the helmet within 2 days or face the consequences. Good night, Orimura family. I'm leaving. I have other matters to attend to. The saint left without seeing the faces of any of his former family as they hadn't expected him to do something like that. The Orimura family still believed that Ichika had truly returned, but the deep resentment he felt towards them was evident in his eyes. His disgust at seeing them again was palpable. Given what they had done to him, they couldn't blame him for rejecting them and acting this way. They were also surprised that Ichika had been in Greece all this time and that he worked for a very important foundation like the Kido. Furthermore, he had come back to retrieve that helmet. But they hadn't expected him to legally threaten them, saying that if they didn't return it willingly, he would take it by force and they would suffer if they didn't comply. Because the government would have problems with Greece if they didn't return the helmet peacefully. Defy. What will we do? I didn't expect Ichika to behave like this towards us. I know he's upset about what we did to him. But we're his family. I thought it would be easier for him to forgive us since we're his family, but I see from his actions that this isn't the case. Madoka. And what will we do now? Will we really return the helmet to Nison? Although his gaze frightened me, it was as sharp as a sword, making me very nervous being near him. I really didn't expect them to change so much after what happened years ago. He seems like a different person and he's no longer the Ichika we know. She said, worried about her brother and the way he behaved with them. Marshall. I really didn't expect this situation at all. Without a doubt, Ichika doesn't look like he used to. He's a grown man now. How brave and self-assured he was when he looked me in the eyes, something the Ichika of the past never did. I would have liked to see him grow up and become the man he is now. It seems that where he wasn't, he was well taken care of, and if he's willing to do anything for them, especially to recover that helmet and threaten them like that. Himeno. I think it would be best to give him the helmet and offer him whatever he wants as compensation for what happened. So that he'll come back to us. It really hurt that he saw me like this. I felt his emotions in that look. It made me feel scared, nervous, sad, and regretful to see how much my son changed when I wasn't there for him when he needed us and when we turned our backs on him in such a cruel way. The others nodded, having an idea to make Ichika come back to them and thus remedy their past mistakes with him and be a family again. So the others withdrew to plan their scheme, and Chifuyu and Madoka went to talk to the girls to ask for their help in their plan to make Ichika stay and come back to them. If they want all their efforts to be in vain, he'll never want to go back to them. And even less will he abandon the place and the people who loved him just as he is and helped him when he needed them most and didn't abandon him like his ex-family, partners, and acquaintances. And for nothing in the world will he change what he has to go back to trash like them. Meanwhile, Ichika returned to his hotel room to rest. Ichika. I just have to endure 2 days in this place, so they give me the Lyra armor helmet and I can leave. I just hope I don't run into my ex-partners. Knowing them, they'll be a nuisance and a big problem on my mission, begging me to stay and go back to them. Too bad for them, I'll never go back to them. They made their decision to associate me with someone else and replace me with another. They must live with the consequences of their actions, just like my former family. They made their decisions, and I made mine. I am a knight of Athena. I will never abandon my goddess, my companions and my brothers to return to people who are scum, who don't deserve anything from me and who discarded me at the first opportunity. What they do or don't do is of no concern to me. I will fulfill this mission no matter the cost, and I don't intend to fail. He said it with determination in his words, and after a while, he had dinner in his room and prepared for sleep, falling asleep to rest and be prepared for what he would do these next 2 days. He hopes the Orimura family will decide to give him the helmet willingly, or they will have to face the consequences. Without knowing what they're planning with his exes to convince him to stay and not leave. To be able to remedy their past mistakes and all the harm they did to him, and to be with him again, even though they know that won't happen, since our Golden Saint has already made his decision and nothing and no one will change his mind. App 11. While that was happening with Ichika and her former family, we will go to another place with what our other Golden Saint, who was a certain orange-haired knight of Virgo, is doing. This was Rito, the Gold Saint of Virgo, walking through Seinen City. The saint walked with his eyes closed, his face showing tranquility. He only half opened his eyes to see without having to unleash his Cosmo. Meanwhile, passers-by stared at him. The women blushed, and the men envied the attention the orange-haired saint was receiving. Rito's Pav. If I am not mistaken, the chest piece of the Lyra armor must be buried somewhere in the Seinen Academy. I'll have to infiltrate as a student there to avoid raising suspicion. I still have no doubt that those silly pink-haired aliens will notice the energy emanating from the Seinen Academy through that part of the Lyra armor. I'll have to be on my guard. Although I know it won't be easy to see them again, especially with that group of silly girls, I don't care what they do. He continued on his way until he reached Seinen Academy, and something surprised the director when he registered. He was Rito, but he didn't mention his last name. Since he no longer had any connection to the Yukis, he didn't need his surname. They gave him a test to determine his grade level. This was easy for the Virgo Saint. He finished it in less than 5 minutes. After that, they told him which classroom he would be in, and he accepted and left. He had already been given the academy uniform, and after that, he walked through the hallways, attracting the attention of the students. The girls practically devoured the Golden Saint with their eyes, while the boys were jealous of him for capturing the girls' attention. Finally, he reached the principal's office, where he was told he had to take an exam to determine his grade based on his knowledge. The red-haired boy nodded in agreement. When he took the exam, he finished in less than 5 minutes, which surprised the board members, who then read his name on the exam. Finally, they recognized Rito, but wondered why he wasn't using the surname Yuki. Remembering what had happened years ago, they understood why, so they decided not to investigate further and accepted that the orange-haired boy could study there. After a few minutes of leaving the principal's office, he received his uniform and went to the locker room to change. He came out wearing his uniform and walked down the hallways until he reached his classroom. He knocked on the door and saw the teacher come out, looking curiously at the orange-haired boy. Professor Hanakawa. Excuse me, young man, who are you and what do you want? Rito. I'm a new student and they told me this is the classroom I'm assigned to. He gave his papers to the professor, who was surprised to see the papers and recognize Rito's name on them, but he decided not to ask more since, given what had happened a while ago, he understood why the orange-haired boy didn't use his last name, so he snapped out of his thoughts. Professor Hanakawa. Alright, young man, wait until I call you so you can introduce yourself. The orange-haired boy nodded and the teacher closed the door and began to call the students' attention. But they kept doing whatever it took to avoid paying attention to the class until the teacher had to shout at them to get them to be quiet and pay attention. The teacher took a few minutes to rest and compose himself before speaking more clearly. Professor Hanakawa. Now that you've all calmed down, I have an announcement. Today we have a new student. At that moment, murmurs began. The boys hoped it would be a beautiful girl with a great figure, while the girls hoped it would be a handsome boy with good manners, not a pervert like most of the boys in the class. But a group of girls, connected to the past of our golden saint, were still depressed and pensive, spending time with a certain orange-haired boy. They wanted him to come back to them and fix his past mistakes. But they snapped out of their thoughts when they heard the teacher say that the new student could come in, and when the door opened and they saw him, the girls' screams didn't take long to erupt. Girls. Kai, he's so handsome. The boys. Knew why. That caused a large drop of sweat to fall from Professor Hanakawa's head, and the orange-haired boy had to be told by the professor to introduce himself. Rito. Hello everyone, I hope we get along, or at least some of us. My name is Rito, that's all. He said it while bowing, astonishing everyone who thought he could be Rito Yuki. All the girls were surprised to see him, especially those he knew well from the past. They were all blushing at his transformation, not expecting him to change so much. Some didn't want to believe it was really Rito standing before them. They didn't think he could change that much, since some of the more arrogant girls thought he was still the same perverted, timid, and clumsy boy he'd always been. And one of them wanted to test him, but it was at the moment the teacher told him to find a seat so they could continue with the class. The orange-haired boy nodded and went to sit down, at which point the girl pretended to fall out of her chair and hurt herself, positioning herself so that her underwear would be visible. She hoped that when he tried to help her, he would see her underwear and accuse her of being a pervert. It's a shame it didn't work because the orange-haired boy helped her up like a gentleman, lifting a princess, and always looked into her eyes, not at her body. After helping her, he went back to his seat, sitting down and waiting for the teacher to continue the class. He was sitting in a chair in the corner, somewhat removed from the others, so as not to attract too much attention and avoid unnecessary problems. No one could believe what happened, and the girls knew he wasn't a pervert like he used to be, although many sensible people just think he was only a pervert by accident. It was because of the situations he found himself in, since it wasn't something he sought out, knowing the problems it caused him one way or another. After 6 hours, the teacher continued with the class. The orange-haired boy answered the teacher's questions. After a while, class ended and the students went to lunch. The protagonist was sitting in the academy's garden. He had already eaten lunch, so he decided to meditate for a while. He sat in the lotus position, meditating peacefully and feeling a great sense of peace around him, something he knew wouldn't last long. Since he sensed the presence of certain girls he knew, the saint could only sigh, knowing what was sure to happen. Hap 12. The Virgo saint remained outwardly calm but sighed inwardly, knowing that his exes would recognize him sooner or later anyway. He wanted to talk to him, even though he felt it wasn't the right time. Rito. What is it you ladies desire? He said it with his eyes closed, still meditating, while not looking at the girls, waiting for the barrage of questions for him. Lala. Rito-kun sniff, we miss you so much. She said it through tears, crying with happiness. Momo. Sniff sniff my ritual. Nana. Sniff the Rai-san. She said it, setting aside her tsundere attitude, crying with happiness upon seeing the orange-haired boy. Flower. We've been looking everywhere for you. Yui. Where have you been, San Ritual? Maiken. Onachan, without sniffing, I've missed you so much. Mom and Dad have been worried about you. Rin. Where have you been, Rito-kun? Yami. We've been searching everywhere for you all these years. Maya. Have eaten well, with whom have you been this time? Kayako. Why do you look like that? Why are your eyes closed? Why aren't you looking at us? Nemesis. Could it be because of what happened that day, your eyes? She said it worriedly, as did the others, thinking that one of the side effects might be that the orange-haired boy would lose his sight. But they thought that with Lala's alien help and the others, they could help him. All the girls rushed to hug him, but the orange-haired boy just stepped aside, letting her fall face down on the ground. They ended up lying on top of each other, looking like a pile of girls, while they all recovered from the fall, some of them bumping their heads and wondering why he had dodged them. Rito. I'm sorry, ladies, but I don't like physical contact with bad people from my past, and you and the others are in my past. It's none of your business, and you shouldn't know where I've been all this time. Especially not with those involved in something that's my personal life, and I don't intend to tell you. And Miss Yuki, you and I are nothing, much less siblings, and your parents are nothing to me. They stopped being anything to me a long time ago. And I only have friends who helped me when I needed them and who are like dear brothers to me, and I'm not blind, so if you were wondering about this, it's for another reason that shouldn't matter to you, and even less so because of how I look, that shouldn't matter to you either. I'm here for other, more important matters that are none of your business. And the others aren't interested in my affairs, least of all you. I'll just say that I'll be here for a very short time, and then I'll leave forever. You'll never see me again, and that's better for me and for everyone. Lala. See, like you're leaving, you're not staying. She said it while holding back tears at the thought of the dark-haired man leaving. Mikan felt her heart tear to pieces because of the calm but cold words of the dark-haired man who used to be her older brother, especially because he said that she and her parents no longer meant anything to him and that he looked at other people as his family, people who were there for him, and to him they were nothing. The others wondered what he meant by not opening his eyes for any other reason, but they wondered who had taken care of the orange-haired boy all this time. They were scared, sad, and worried to learn that he would only be there for a short time and that they would never see him again, something they didn't want. They had lost him once and now they would lose him again. Rito. I see the break is over, it's time to go back to class. The orange-haired boy stood up, dusting himself off his uniform, heading to class. He left his exes lying on the lawn while the other students watched, their minds racing. Some boys were annoyed with the orange-haired boy for treating the most beautiful girls in the academy that way, something the dark-haired boy couldn't care less about. The boy stepped aside, sensing the orange-haired boy's aura, as if he were calmly telling them not to bother him. Meanwhile, the other girls at the academy were in shock, realizing that the orange-haired boy was Rito, formerly Yuki, standing right in front of them. His appearance was now very different from before, leaving them all blushing, especially since he was no longer the same Rito they once knew. But the orange-haired boy was bothered by the fact that people kept telling him he looked better now than before, that he was a pervert. He clarified that the tsundere girls were the ones who started that stereotype about him. They couldn't understand how someone could trip and end up in embarrassing and perverted situations. He felt that such things could actually happen to anyone and that their attitude was childish for not accepting and understanding that. Because being intentionally perverted is one thing and being clumsy and falling and ending up in that situation accidentally is another. Something that isn't intentional. He said that girls like that are people who will stay single for the rest of their lives because nobody will want to date them due to their distrustful, childish, exaggerated, and immature attitude. They are capable of misinterpreting everything and taking an accident as if it were intentional. When it wasn't intentional, they were able to label someone a pervert without thinking about the situation, because how could someone want to fall and almost break their nose just from seeing a girl, knowing they would get hurt? And she told the girls who were like that to change, otherwise they would never have a boyfriend, since no one would accept someone like that or they would run out of patience. And that they should stop saying that all men were perverts when not all of them are, and that there are perverted women too, reminding them that Momo was just as mischievous and shameless in touching anyone, especially girls in their breasts. This made all the girls blush with embarrassment, as he was right. Even though the girls were tsundere, some of them questioned the few boys they had as boyfriends, asking if they were really like that and if they would ever break up with them. The boys agreed, as this attitude was exhausting to endure, especially since they were so immature they couldn't recognize it. This depressed them, as they realized they were the problem, and that's why their relationships never lasted, leaving them depressed in a corner. The other girls agreed with her, knowing what the short-haired pink-haired girl was like, sometimes taking advantage of the situation to grope them in the changing rooms. Comparing the pink-haired girl and the orange-haired boy, one did it intentionally, while the orange-haired boy's actions were just accidents that could happen to anyone unlucky enough to fall. Everyone wondered what had happened to the orange-haired boy, why he was speaking with such firmness and seriousness, something the nervous and shy boy of before would never have done. But after what had happened years ago, it was normal that everything had changed so much. The others continued walking to their classes, and the rest of the classes passed normally, although his exes couldn't stop looking at him with sadness and regret for what they had done in the past. But they wouldn't give up until they had him back with them. After classes ended, the girls tried to follow him to find out where the orange-haired boy lived so they could approach him and win him back. But at a corner he didn't notice, the girls lost sight of him. They didn't know how it happened, since he had sensed they were following him, and so he used the corner as a distraction to use his speed and disappear. He appeared in an alley and began walking calmly, staying in an apartment complex so as not to attract the attention of unwanted people. This way he could rest without being disturbed by his former acquaintances entering the place. He paid the apartment rent, settled his affairs in a little while, had dinner, and did his homework, something that was very easy for him and didn't take much time. After finishing his duties, he prepared to sleep and get up the next day to go to the academy and continue his mission. Chapter 13. Returning to our Virgo saint. Rito. I just hope they don't harass me from 24 to 7. Those scandalous nuisances, and knowing them, they won't be long in visiting my ex-parents. The fact that I'm here will make my mission more problematic. I'll just have to be careful that they're not following me." The orange-haired boy stood up, stopped meditating, and got ready for the academy. An hour passed before he left his house and followed the normal route, arriving at the academy entrance. He was met with smirks from the female students of all grades. He noticed this but decided not to dwell on it. He sat in his seat near a window and continued meditating, mentally preparing himself for whatever might happen that day. As he meditated, he could still feel the stares of the others watching him, remembering what had happened during yesterday's recess. He had verbally put his exes in their place, clarifying that he wasn't the same person he used to be and wouldn't be there much longer, leaving never to see them again. Some other students were talking about perverted things with the girls, while the girls glared at them but blushed at the thought of the orange-haired boy since he had proven to be a gentleman or a prince in their eyes. This made them fantasize a lot about doing unholy things with the Golden Saint. Something he did notice, causing him some annoyance and discomfort as he arrived at the academy, entered his classroom, and sat in his seat. Being watched by many of his female classmates made him uncomfortable as he felt they were undressing him with their eyes. If he hadn't arrived at the classroom, it would have been even worse. Meanwhile, elsewhere at the sanctuary, it was night and one of the Gold Saints was having a nightmare about his past as Issei of Libra. This was because he was somewhat affected by having encountered the factions who had caused him great harm throughout his youth. It was difficult to forget what happened since they had still caused him some trauma from the past. He was asleep, turning over and over several times, remembering his encounters with the people he once loved but who hurt him the most and seeing his past self who forgave them everything. He saw how innocent and kind he was, personally forgiving them so many times for every bad thing they did to him. He saw himself in his current form, standing between two versions of himself. One was his kind version who, no matter the harm done to him, always forgave everyone. But his gaze was lost, a result of all the pain they inflicted, so much so that he had grown accustomed to it, bearing marks of blows and bruises on his face, and his gaze was sad and dull. The other was a different version. His eyes were red, he was black and white, representing his negative side. The one who, inside, wanted to destroy himself and make those who hurt him pay, wanted to scream everything he had kept inside for years. His clothes were partly red and black, and his gaze was full of hatred and seriousness. The real Issei was in the middle of these two who began to sing a song that revealed what Issei had been hiding. His emotions. We'll call the sad Issei T, the dark Issei D, and the original Issei S, the Gold Saint. As Issei's memories played, they were bad, making the sad Issei feel bad, and only making the Gold Saint Issei thoughtful and melancholic. How could he remember all the bad things that had happened to them? Issei T. Something about them makes me believe in them. Even though they say it's better if I stay away. He said this referring to his mind because his heart made him forgive everything they did to him, but he always felt that his mind told him the opposite, that he shouldn't forgive these mistakes that were repeated one after another. Issei T. It's not in my control, I won't leave them anymore. Issei D. There's something about them, it's a deception. And everything they bring you, you dreamed it all. Your honor is stained, stop doubting now. He said this referring to all the mockery, humiliation, and mistreatment he endured throughout his life. Their kind smiles, swearing apologies and good intentions were just a facade, a deception to take advantage of him and hurt him even more. He only tolerates forgiving so much evil from them, doing things for people who don't deserve anything from him. Issei D. Do N''T forgive her for her actions. Can't you see they ruined you? He said this referring to all the things they did to ruin his life, saying they don't deserve forgiveness for anything, and that by trusting those people, they ruined every ounce of happiness or hope they might have had. Issei T. Why does it bother you they are honest? In their confessions. And so, Issei was bombarded by his painful memories, seeing every scar, bruise, insult, humiliation and mistreatment, the ignorance, loneliness, and mockery he had endured. He heard each thing as if they were arrows that hurt the others. The sad Issei felt the words and actions wound his heart. Meanwhile, dark Issei only grew more enraged, his gaze filled with anger, hatred, and vengeance. He watched as his eyes glowed, clenching his teeth and glaring at all the negative memories. As he stared at the shadows of each person who had wronged him, laughing at each rapidly changing memory, it was an internal headache for all three of them. Issei D. Do N''T forgive them for their actions. Can't you see, they ruined you? He said this while pointing at all the memories that showed all the bad things they had done to them from childhood to adolescence, up to the final act before arriving at the sanctuary. Issei T. Why does it bother you? They're honest. In their confessions. Watching the images of the Gremories and all the other snipers feigning smiles and apologies to apologize to Issei for all the bad things they had done to him, only to use him again to hurt him and take advantage of his kindness. Issei S. I'm torn in two. He said it feeling like all the emotions and memories, scars and words and taunts and mistreatment were hammering at his head. He covered his ears so he wouldn't hear anymore. Issei, I trust them. Issei, and I demand more proof. It wasn't immaculate conception. A very well-planned situation. He said this meaning that without proof of their honesty, they couldn't be trusted, and that everything bad had already been planned by his brothers, who always made it their business to ruin their lives, just for selfish reasons and pleasure, so they would suffer knowing that he never did anything wrong to them. Issei, they're going to be stoned for their lies. Issei, no. They have to stop, we mustn't judge them. Seeing them makes me feel like I'm starting to love them. They're innocent. He said this trying to make Dark understand that the Gremories could be given a second chance and everything could be fixed. Issei, and why do you think so? You have to forget them. He said this shaking the sad Issei as if telling him to open his eyes, that they aren't saints and that they don't deserve anything from them and that he should forget them. That they aren't good at all and are just monsters who damage everything good that tries to get close to them because of their own selfish desires. Issei, someone stop me now. He said it clutching his head, unable to bear it any longer. He felt his mind split in two, unable to find order or peace. All his negative emotions and thoughts were chaos. Meanwhile, outside of Issei's mind, his own mind was suffering. Mariana sensed Issei's agitated cosmos and rushed to him, seeing that he was having a nightmare. She listened to the things he was saying about his pain and his past, how the mental scars wouldn't leave him in peace in his dreams. She hugged him, stroking his head as she told him that she was there for him, that he shouldn't have any more. While in Issei's mind he heard the words of his goddess, tears welled in his eyes, knowing that someone truly loved him and was with him in this situation. He stood up, and the two Isseis fell silent as they listened to the saint sing, while her cosmos urged. Issei, oh, the only thing I know is that I will go to her side. I will go now. Ending his exhaustion, he saw the mental landscape change to a calmer one, while listening to the beautiful and sad song of his goddess. That song was because she suffered for him, seeing him like this, sad and suffering, and unable to do anything for him as she hugged him. Making Issei cry in his sleep as if the song was telling him to let it all out, that he didn't have to keep carrying that pain, that she was there to ease his burdens, sadness, and pain. Causing Issei to wake up, he saw his goddess embracing him, enveloping him in her cosmos. Making him feel calmer. Issei. Mariana, thank you for being here. Mariana. I'll always be here, Issei. You don't have to suffer alone. You've been very brave to keep so much pain to yourself, enduring it all in silence. I worry about you. You know you must release everything you feel so that you can be at peace with yourself, your heart, and your soul. She hugged him tighter, as if to say he could let it all out, and she was there for him and always would be. Issei hugged his goddess, crying like he had never cried in his life. All the pain, suffering, and sadness he had always kept to himself was evident, while his goddess gently stroked his head, making him feel more relaxed little by little until he fell asleep. Seeing him like this, she simply kissed Issei's forehead. And with sweet words, she said. Mariana. Rest, Issei. You deserve it. I'll always be here for you, watching over your happiness and your dreams, guiding you down the path you desire so you're safe and happy, finding the destiny you long for. She then stroked Issei's head, continuing to hug him, making him feel good, safe, protected, and loved. App 14. While Issei was being comforted by his goddess and Ichika and Rito were dealing with the traitors, things were different in the elemental nations. It was Leo's turn to deal with the traitors, and he felt like if he looked at them he would explode and destroy the entire place. But to calm him down, Shido of Cancer was there to prevent a disaster. The two hooded Heba, trying not to be recognized, were more so by Naruto than by Minato's resemblance to the bleached blonde, and the whisker marks on their cheeks could easily make them recognizable and cause a great commotion in the place. Shido. Calm down, Naruto. I know you're disgusted by being in this place, but we have to remember that we're here to find one of the armor pieces we're looking for, and I'm here to help you and prevent anything bad from happening. Naruto. I know, Shido, but I'm not like Ichika, who has to deal coldly with his traitors, and Rito, who deals as calmly as possible, just like Issei, who dealt better with his traitors, although I know it must have stirred up many conflicting negative feelings in him. Hearing his brothers say they wanted him back and to fix everything, and that those slutty exes wanted to get back with him, they're definitely hypocrites. They didn't care about sleeping around with other men and getting close to Issei like nothing was wrong. How shameless can someone be to do that? Shido. I think the same as you, Naruto. I also wanted to burn them alive and send them to Yamatsu. Naruto. I wanted to hit them with a full-body lightning plasma blast to teach them a lesson. But we're knights and we couldn't do that. Besides, it was Issei's business and only he could handle the situation. But changing the subject, Shido, do you know exactly where the armor part is located? What are we looking for? Shido. The coordinates say it's in the land of fire, in the village of Konoha, the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto. Awesome. You didn't expect that I'd have to return to that village and see its inhabitants sooner than expected, he said seriously with sarcasm in his voice. Shido. Remember to calm down, Naruto. We came for that armor piece, not to cause trouble, much less kill anyone. No matter how much you hate them, we can't kill them unless they interfere with our mission. Remember, the Patriarch said that we could kill them with the armor pieces unless they interfered with our mission. Otherwise, it wasn't necessary to finish them off. He also said that we had to recover the armor pieces at any cost. We could do it peacefully or by force without killing anyone, but it was more reliable to do it peacefully. Later on, we'll need to form alliances with the ninja villages because of the war with Hades. We need to avoid as many casualties as possible. Remember that even though Konoha betrayed you, the other villages are innocent. And there are many innocent people who don't deserve to die at the hands of the specters and by Hades if they don't know about the situation. Naruto. You're right, Shido. I'll try to stay as calm as possible. I don't want to disappoint our goddess. Just because of my hatred for Konoha, I hope those useless namikazes like Mema don't hinder our mission, otherwise it'll be much harder to find the armor piece with so many ninjas watching us. Shido. You're right about that. If we're discovered, we'll have to be as careful as possible to avoid them uncovering our plan. But what will we do if they ask to see our identities? Naruto. I'll have to use a transformation to disguise myself since my eyes, hair, and these markings on my face might make me recognizable. As for you, I don't think a disguise is necessary since you're not from here. There's no need to hide your appearance. The plan is to pose as temporary ninjas from Konoha. To avoid suspicion and search for that piece of armor, if we claim to be visitors, we'll be watched, which would raise suspicion since we are not merchants. And being from another village might lead to more questions than necessary during our investigation. And with the dangerous ones, they'll doubt that we're just ordinary civilians. The ninja position we should have is that of an Anbu so they don't suspect us, since nobody will suspect an Anbu, as they carry out special missions that are only personal missions for the Hokage. Shido. That sounds like a good plan. It'll be less likely they'll discover what we're doing. But we have to be careful not to get near that old guy named Danzo, who said he had an organization called Root that's possibly still operating. That guy could ruin our plans and might even try to do something to us to check our minds. Naruto. Relax, Shido, I've thought this through. If that were to happen, we'd just send him to Yamatsu if we uncover any dirty laundry about him. That mummy has always given me a bad feeling, like he's not to be trusted, and I suspect he's involved in a lot of things, but I don't have proof, just speculation. Shido. Well, we'd better keep an eye on what that old man and his organization might do. They're the ones who could distrust us the most and ruin our mission by sticking their noses where they don't belong. Naruto. You're right, Shido. We can't trust anyone in that village, otherwise there will be a lot of problems, and the last thing we want is to have an entire village after us and have them twist the truth for their own benefit and turn the other villages against us. We may be strong, but remember the problems will only get worse, and that's what we must avoid. To avoid making enemies and potentially causing them to distrust us more when it comes to alliances, in order to prevent attacks by the specters in different villages. The blue-haired boy nodded and the two of them set off towards Konoha, running at full speed. Meanwhile, in Konoha, things were different during the time Naruto had disappeared. Some thought he had died, while others believed he had managed to survive, so Konoha had spent the last 4 years searching for him frantically. It seems they realized their mistake, as the wise toad's prophecy apparently changed drastically to a different one. It said an evil was approaching, and only 12 golden stars, shining like the sun, would be able to defeat it. And those who harmed the Lion Star would suffer if they stood in its way and hindered its mission to save humanity alongside its companions. Some idiots thought he was talking about the Hokage's children and the 12 rookies. But seeing that everything was getting worse instead of better after they got rid of the blonde guy, and that a certain traitorous Biju Fox revealed that she had sensed a golden aura around Naruto and seen a kind of star or constellation of a lion, in which she ruthlessly watched him before being taken out of Naruto's body. And it was possible that the prophecy was about Naruto and never about Minato's children, since only Naruto possessed that golden aura. It was a power that terrified her. Also, when Minato and Jiraiya went to Mount Mayaboku to speak with the Toad Sage Gamameru, let's just say things didn't go well for them. Since the old toad slapped Jiraiya with his tongue, almost sending him flying, for not recognizing the chosen one and causing the change in the prophecy, besides wasting time training some brats who can barely handle the one-tailed beast without ending up as squashed pancakes, and because of him the chosen one is nowhere to be found, and possibly if that part of the prophecy comes true, a great punishment will fall upon them from the gods. Oh, by the Sage of Six Paths, a great evil would befall all the elemental nations. Because of them, great misfortunes were likely to occur. He said that if Naruto returned and annihilated them all, he would send Ma and Pa to give him his summoning contract. It was better for him to be with Naruto than with incompetent idiots like them. All the two old toads glared angrily and disappointedly at Minato and Jiraiya for what they had done, having warned them 1,000 times that they would regret their actions, that everything in life has its price, and that soon everything would come crashing down on them, and it would be too late to fix anything. They disappeared from the scene, reappearing at the Hokage Tower, unable to believe what had happened on Mount Myaboku. And after the wise toad explained the situation, let's just say everyone panicked to the point of thinking about more stupid things, like looking for Naruto and getting him to forgive them and convincing him to return to Konoha and train him as the true chosen one so he could save the world. Although they didn't know that any of that would happen and that in these 4 years they hadn't found a single clue about the blonde boy and his whereabouts, the situation became more tense and everyone more desperate, and they had more doubts about whether Naruto would forgive them, kill them as revenge, or retaliate against them for what they had done to him in the past, although many thought that Naruto, being who he was, would forgive them for their actions. If they knew that he was no longer the same, forgiving them was not in his vocabulary, much less returning and staying in that village, and hoping that the evil foretold in the prophecy would not befall them faster than expected, otherwise all their nightmares would come true. Chap 15. At the Hokage Tower, it was a total scandal for everyone. The civilian and shinobi council no longer knew where to put their faces or where to look. Hamura. Calm down already. The others calm down and fall silent. Heir. We mustn't lose our temper in this situation. Civilian 1. How can we stay calm if the devil is still alive and will kill us all? Civil 3. We are doomed. Civilian 2. If we had made sure he was dead, this wouldn't be happening to us. Harrison raised his voice, making all the civilians shut their mouths once and for all. Harrison. That's better. I'm too old to be doing what you should be doing, Minato. He said it seriously and coldly, looking at the blonde man who shrank in his seat. The old man just sighed, puffing on his pipe to calm himself. He wasn't so young anymore to deal with these problems, especially those caused by his former student and successor as Hokage. Hiruzen wondered aloud if he should have chosen someone better to be Hokage. If Orochimaru hadn't gone mad, he would have been a better candidate and none of this would be happening. Although everything is more due to the stupid mistakes of this village and of Minato and Jiraiya. Jiraiya. Sensei, don't be so rude to Minato, he's doing what he can. Trying to calm the tense atmosphere. But Harrison, fed up with the cynicism, hit Jiraiya over the head with his staff to make him shut up once and for all. Harrison. Shut up, Jiraiya. I'm still angry with you too for what you and Minato caused. He knows perfectly well what he should be doing, and he's not doing it. As Hokage, he needs to bring order to this council, which is like a headless chicken coop running around wherever it pleases. Who told the civilian council to be at this meeting when it was specifically supposed to be just the shinobi council? He said it seriously, looking at all the people in the place. Heir. As advice, Harrison should know. The old woman said it seriously. Harrison looked at her former teammate with a sharp gaze, something that made her nervous. Harrison. Political and military affairs are only for shinobi, not civilians. He said this while slamming his fist on the table, startling everyone with the old Hokage's seriousness. If he was there, the situation warranted it. Let me make it clear that anyone who dares to speak about what happens in this meeting and cause chaos to spread throughout the village will have their heads roll almost the entire civil council, you hear me? Hamura. You can't do it, Harrison. Harrison. I remind you that the daimyo authorized me to take serious measures to prevent this village from causing more misfortune than the ultimatum of 4 years ago. Besides, the civilian council members are the only ones who dare to spread rumors in the village. Do you remember when Naruto's identity as the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki was supposed to be confidential, but the rumors spread, causing a huge mess in the village? The others remained silent, not knowing what to say. Harrison. To prevent anyone from speaking out of turn, there will be an Anbu following them, making sure no one is loose-lipped. Because if the village finds out, it will unleash infinite chaos. Imagine how the others will feel when they learn that their only hero was killed because of a prophecy that even Jiraiya didn't understand correctly. Anyone who dares to utter a word about this will be ordered to behead anyone who speaks of it. To the members of the civilian council, if they are listening, I will simply say that this is the last time they will interfere in shinobi affairs. Civil 4. But Sandaime-sama, we are part of the Konoha Council, we must be present to make decisions. Hiruzen. The civilian council is for civilians only, and the shinobi council is for ninjas. Let's not confuse things once and for all. The council is only there to advise the Hokage. The final word belongs to the Hokage, and by law, it must be followed. And as Hokage, since no one in this room, including Minato and Tsunade, is fit for the position due to countless shortcomings, and that will be my final word. This village has already made too many mistakes. The most serious was messing with Naruto. And if Konoha's destiny is to pay for its sins, so be it. If the first and second Hokage were here, they would be turning in their graves to see the village they protected with so much effort become like this. They would be very disappointed. Those who don't like my decision and are upset by it will know why I was given the title Shinobi God. He spoke with a serious expression, the kind of look he only gave in battle or war, making everyone in the room tremble. The third man might be old, but no one could deny that he still possessed his power, strength, and the spark of a ninja. Pearson. I'm adjourning this meeting. You may all leave. Anyone who dares to divulge what was discussed here will be in serious trouble if they want to see their houses circling the village square. The members of the civilian council nodded, leaving with their hearts in their mouths, fearful of the third Hokage, because they knew that when he was serious, he was capable of carrying out his threats. However, Danzo, Hamura and Kaheru were not at all happy with Hirason's decision and the changes it would bring, especially for Danzo and his plans. Hirason. Before the others leave, I'll speak about an important point. Shikaku. What is this about, Satom-sama? Hirason. Most of you are related to the other ninjas of Emstage and Rakuen, who were Naruto's former ninja comrades. If you don't want them dead, keep them under control, just like your other children, Minato. If you don't want Naruto to kill Menma and Naruko, you'd better not do anything stupid. Besides, you, Kushina, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, Menma, Naruko, Sasuke, Satsuki, Kurumi, and Sakura absolutely must stay away from Naruto. Otherwise, you'll die at his hands for everything you did to him. Minato and Kushina. You can't say that, he's our son. Jiraiya. The same goes for me and Tsunade, he's our godson. Kakashi. He is my student. Naruko. He's my brother, he can't stop me from being with him. Satsuki and Kurumi. He's our boyfriend, he can't say that. Sasuke. You're also worried about that loser, he's not a big deal. Menma. I agree that Sasuke worries too much. I doubt that he's capable of destroying us, that useless guy. Pearson. I warned you, but if you don't listen, you'll face the consequences. If anything happens to you, it will be at your own risk. He stood up from his seat, took his cane, and left. 2 smoke bombs appeared on the table. They were Fukasaku and Shima. The others were surprised to see him, and Jiraiya asked if they had already forgiven them. Shima. You're an idiot, Jiraiya. We'll never forgive you for what you, Minato, Kushina, Tsunade, this village, that flea-ridden fox, and those brats did to Naruto-chan. She said it angrily while Kakashi and Naruko grabbed Kurumi, who wanted to attack Shima for calling her a flea-ridden bitch. Shima. Naruko, you'd better keep that pet of yours under control because I don't want to touch me. Fukasaku. Gamamaru-sama is still angry with you two for affecting the prophecy and says that if this world is destroyed, it will be because of your ignorance. Kushina. We already told you we're sorry for what we did to my son. We just want to make things right with him and for him to forgive us. I just want to see him and never be separated from him again. She cried non-stop, her eyes red from crying so much for so long while Tsunade, Naruko, and Satsuki comforted her. Shima Arda gave each of them a tongue slap so that they would not dare to have such cynicism as to regret their actions much later. Shima. Don't you dare say that, Kushina. You're a disgrace, both as an Uzumaki and a Kunoichi, and even worse as a mother. For what you did to Naruto, you made him feel even a shred of love or affection for your son, your own flesh and blood. When you treated him worse, you scum. And Tsunade, if Lady Mito were here, she'd be utterly ashamed to see the despicable piece of trash her granddaughter has become. You old drunk, gambling drunk, ill-tempered fool, naive and child abuser, Naruko, you're not worthy of bearing the Uzumaki name. You're just a power-hungry girl like your brother, and even your mother would be ashamed of you and Sasuke to see you become what you are today. Just like Kurumi, you 9-tailed fox, if Hagoromo-sama were here, he would be very disappointed in what you did to Naruto. Fukasaku. I hope this village's days aren't numbered if its end ever comes. Just as he will have to come here someday. We have nothing more to say. The two of them leave and depart the place, leaving behind a deathly silence. Chapter 16. The arrival of 2 saints in Konoha. 3 weeks had passed since the meeting between the Shinobi Council and the Civilian Council. Just as long as the ultimatum the old cage had given them. If anyone published information about the meeting, heads would roll throughout the village. Something many reluctantly had to accept. They no longer wanted to die. And once their plans were discovered, the village was in no condition for civil wars for power. Minato and Kushina remained immersed in sadness and expressions of not finding Naruto, as did Naruko, Kurumi, and Satsuki. Just like Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Tsunade. Only Menma and Sasuke didn't understand why the others suffered because of the useless words of the 2 airheads. The civilians knew nothing about what happened at the meeting. They felt a growing sense of unease. Similarly, Shima, Fukasaku, and the wise toad did not speak to Jiraiya or Minato, nor did any other toad summoned by the bleached blonde Sannin. Naruto's former classmates felt terrible for what they had done to the blonde boy. At the same time, guilt gnawed at them all from within. Meanwhile, elsewhere at the village entrance, Izumo and Kotetsu were guarding the village gates. This time, for the first time in their lives, they were awake. This was incredible to many, given how lazy the guards of Konoha's gates usually were. Many even wondered how it was possible that the village hadn't fallen yet, with guards like them. Not even the kami himself knew. It was an unsolved mystery. And as if by some miracle, those two idiots were already awake. The third Hokage threatened to fire them and put them on F-rank missions for the rest of their lives if they continued being lazy at work. Something about that made them both look scared and pale. The two of them were bored, watching the leaves fall from the trees. Ever since Naruto left and all the villages found out what happened, nobody wanted to trade with him. It was rare to see anyone asking for missions or jobs for the Konoha ninja. Some merchants even passed by and wanted nothing to do with Konoha or its inhabitants. While the two ninjas from Konoha were dying of boredom as nothing interesting was happening. Then they saw two mysterious shadows approaching. Opening their eyes, they thought they were some merchants or travelers, until they saw they were two hooded figures wearing white hoods with gold trim. Moments earlier with Naruto and Shido. Shido. Naruto, we're near your old village, right? Naruto. That's right, Shido. The plan, as I told you, is to use a transformation technique to avoid being recognized in Konoha. Because of my resemblance to that idiot fourth Hokage, they might recognize me, and that's the last thing I want. If that happens, the Konoha people might interfere in our affairs and hinder our mission. Shido. I think it's a good plan. Honestly, they wouldn't suspect anything about me since they don't know me. If your plan is good, it will save us from having to deal with your traitors. Naruto nodded, beginning to make hand seals, changing his appearance to a brown-haired man with almost black-gray eyes. His whisker marks were gone, his blue eyes now almost black, and his shoulder-length brown hair and lighter skin made him completely unrecognizable. Naruto. Okay, let's continue with the plan. Shido. Wait, Naruto, there's a problem with the plan. Naruto. And what would that be? Shido. If we want to infiltrate the village, they'll ask for our information. Mine doesn't matter. They don't know me anymore, but they know you. I can't give your real name. It would raise unnecessary suspicions. Naruto. You're right, Shido. I thought about naming myself after my master, the former gold saint of Leo. Shido. I believe your master would be honored if you used his name. Naruto. For my past and that village, Naruto Uzumaki died 4 years ago at the hands of the people he claimed to love. And from his ashes, someone different was born, someone who will not go back and even less forgive those people who ruined his life. Shido placed a hand on his friend's shoulder, ready to support his decision whatever it might be. Thus, the two continued their journey to the Hidden Leaf village, arriving where they were spotted by Izumo and Kotetsu. Upon arrival, they were asked to register, and Shido introduced himself to Izumo and Naruto as Ioria. They were mercenaries who had come to become Leaf Village ninja. Since the two guards suspected nothing, they took them to the Hokage Tower. The villagers and ninjas looked at them with curiosity, wondering who they were, as it had been a long time since anyone new had arrived in the village. As they walked, Naruto looked around the place. Although it seemed like nothing had changed, the economic situation in the village was noticeable. Many civilians with money had already had to change their lifestyle due to the lack of money in the village. The atmosphere was heavy and somber. Shido noticed this too. Both of them wondered what had happened during the 4 years Naruto had disappeared. They would investigate this later, but for now, no one suspected his true plan or intentions for being in the village. Note, when Naruto is with the traitors nearby, he will be called Ioria. When he is alone with Shido or trusted people, he will be Naruto. Upon arriving at the Hokage's office, they knocked on the door to request permission. A come-in was answered from the other side, and Shido and Naruto entered, accompanied by the entrance guards. Hiruzen and Minato were in the room, surrounded by paperwork. Tsunade and Jiraiya, along with Kushina, were helping them organize the accumulated work that had already been completed. Kakashi and Mema, Naruko, Satsuki and Sasuke and Kurumi were not in the village. They were taking one of the few missions that happened to come to the village. Regardless of the mission, they had to take it because money was money and being demanding wouldn't make them comfortable at the table. Izumo. Hokage-sama, we brought some individuals who say they want to join the village. Minato's face was so thick you couldn't see his desk. It was surrounded by tall rows of papers and you could barely see his arms because of all the shoveling. Minato. It's a pleasure. I'm sorry I can't assist you, but as you can see, I'm very busy right now. However, if you don't mind Mr. Third can assist you, take your information, and ask you a few questions. Pointing with his brush at Hiruzen, who nodded, he said he would help with the data from the forms and files for entering the village. Shido. That's fine, 4th Hokage, don't worry. My partner and I accept the idea. The blonde, now brown-haired man nodded at his companion's words, approaching the old cage to begin his questioning. Pearson. Well, if you don't mind, young people, I'll ask you a few questions. The two saints nodded. Pearson. Okay, first question. Do you belong to any shinobi village or any other village? Shido. We don't come from a small village far away in the land of fire between the land of water. Pearson. Okay, next question. What are your names? Shido. My name is Shido. Ioria. My name is Ioria. Irison. Why did they want to join Konoha knowing the situation of the village? Shido. It's because my partner and I wanted to become shinobi to help our families. So we trained and became guards for the daimyo lord of the land of fire. He told us he had a great friendship with you, 3rd Hokage, and for your safety, and as a sign of friendship, he sent us, his best guards, to be your personal ninjas. The two of them bowed, something that surprised everyone to hear. Pearson. How do I know what they're saying is true? He said it seriously, doubting the story of the two-headed figures. Shido handed him a letter with the seal of a feudal lord, which was clear proof that they were telling the truth. When Irison opened it, she saw that the letter said something else. The letter said that they had information about Naruto Uzumaki and Tugi, the container of the nine-tailed fox. Something surprised Irison, but seeing the serious faces of the two, she realized they weren't lying, so she decided to play along to find out if what they were saying was true or not. Pearson. Well, everything is in order. From today onwards, you will be my personal Anbu. Jiraiya. Sensei, are you sure it's a good idea and that they're telling the truth? Pearson looked seriously at his former student, which made Jiraiya back away from his master's gaze. Pearson. Are you calling me old and senile, Jiraiya? I may be old, but no one can fool me. And everyone saw the feudal seal that proves the authenticity of this letter, so no one should doubt my decision. Besides, I don't trust any of you anymore, least of all this village, and having some truly good company wouldn't hurt. I don't want your stupidity to rub off on me. Seeing your faces every day is enough without having to put up with you questioning my authority as Cage. Everyone remained silent and no one protested or objected. Hiruzen left the room with Shido and Iolia, who exchanged glances with Tsunade. Upon meeting his gaze, she felt a chill run down her spine. The room was left in an awkward silence. Kushina, noticing her teacher's worried expression, spoke. Kushina. Sensei who has had since the 3rd homie left and those young people. Tsunade. I didn't feel anything like a predator was looking at me, like a wild beast was staring at me with hatred. Jiraiya. Now that I think about it, I didn't expect the daimyo to give Sensei personal guards in the first place. Minato. It's obvious he wouldn't tell us personally. We're no longer on the daimyo's list of favorites at the moment. Kushina. It's true, only that Ioria guy seemed familiar, or maybe it's just my imagination from thinking so much about Naruto-chan. I want to see my son again, apologize to him, and be a family again like we should have been from the beginning. As the Redeed clenched her hands in prayer, she thought, hoping some god would hear her pleas. Oh, that Kami would grant her prayers, something that would never happen. Everyone else lowered their heads, knowing the Redeed's suffering was no longer easy for her, not knowing about her son, and that he hated her with all his soul. Elsewhere in the Salutobi clan compound, there was a room where 3 figures stood. 2 were our gold saints, and the other was the 3rd Hokage, sitting and smoking his pipe, curiously observing the 2-hooded figures. Pearson. Now you can explain to me the truth, who you really are and what you know about Naruto. He said it seriously, looking at the 2-hooded figures. Shido saw Ioria, who also understood Shido's signal, forming hand seals to cancel the transformation. Hiruzen saw someone he hadn't seen in many years. He didn't expect to see this situation again. Standing before the old Hokage was a young man of about 20 with shoulder-length blonde hair, deep, clear blue eyes, and 3 whisker-like markings on each cheek. The old man couldn't believe his eyes, but thanks to chakra, he was able to confirm it was indeed the same person. Pearson. Well Naruto, are you? Naruto. It's been a long time. It's good you're still alive, Grandpa. I thought that because of your age you wouldn't be around anymore when the time came for me to return to this village. He said it with a slight smile at first and a serious tone at the end, with contempt and indifference towards the place that was once his old home. The old Cage, seeing it was the same person, stood up and hugged the blonde boy with a smile, overjoyed to see his adopted grandson again. He was very happy to see that troublesome child again. Despite his pranks and mischief, he always brought a smile to the old Cage's face. He could also sense the true will of fire within him. Now, seeing him face to face again, I no longer saw that child starved of family, love, and security. Now I saw a man. Brave, strong, and mature in both body and character. In his eyes, I saw someone who had suffered many things but had not succumbed to darkness or hatred. Because if that had been the case, the blonde man would not have hesitated to kill everyone in the Hokage Tower, except for Hiruzen. Hiruzen. Naruto, my boy, it's good to have you back. This old man missed you so much. Tell me what has happened since you disappeared on that fateful day. Naruto smiled at the words of the third Hokage, although he knew the old man deserved answers about what happened to him during the 4 years he disappeared from the side of the ninja world. Naruto. Don't worry, Grandpa, I'll explain everything from the beginning. Listen carefully because what I'm about to tell you is important. It has to do with what happened to me these past 4 years while I was gone, with the fate of the ninja world. It's serious. You know I would never joke about something serious, even knowing what happened to me 4 years ago. The blonde boy said this seriously, looking at Hiruzen, who nodded, understanding the seriousness of the matter. The three of them sat down to talk. Naruto introduced Shido as one of his friends and brothers who had helped him through difficult times in the past 4 years. He told him about the gold saints of his goddess Athena, about the other gods the saints had faced in past wars, and about the cosmos. Something surprised a third Hokage, who couldn't believe everything he was hearing. He sensed a powerful energy emanating from Naruto and Shido that wasn't chakra, which was quite obvious to him. What the young men's story proved was true. Hiruzen. It's amazing what you guys told me, but Naruto, now I want to know how you ended up becoming a gold saint, meeting your fellow knights and your goddess, and having that power called cosmos. I always knew you'd do great things, but not on this scale. Oh my god. I'm too old for so many emotions, but I'm glad you're doing well and have found true friends and great companions, and a real place to call home. I'm so happy for you. Naruto. I know, Grandpa, I owe you an explanation. Today I was about to be killed by the fourth Hokage, his wife, his children, and those two traitors Issei. Something happened. Just when I thought I was going to die from those bastards' attack, I heard a voice telling me not to give up, that I couldn't die like that for people who weren't worth it. I had fallen unconscious from my wounds, accepting my fate, when I saw a golden flash and a golden lion before me. A golden armor enveloped me, and somehow I ended up in the sanctuary, meeting the patriarch, the other gold saints, and my companions. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't be here alive now, talking to you, grandfather. I met my teachers, the former Leo Knights, who taught me everything I needed to know to be the new Leo Knight. Therefore, I am its new bearer, and with pride and gratitude to those who trusted in me, I will protect what is right. I met Shido and the other new gold saints. Each of us experienced similar betrayals. Loved ones abandoned and betrayed us in ways you can't imagine. Grandfather Shido was also betrayed by people who claimed to be his family and friends. Hiruzen. I'm so sorry for what you and your aunt went through, Naruto, but you're together now, and that's what matters. You have each other now, true friends and comrades, bound by a bond that no one can break. I'm glad you've found such valuable people in your life, Naruto. The blonde man smiled at the old Kage's words, but he also explained his main mission, which was the reason he and Shido were there. He explained about the Holy War and how the armor piece that Shido had discovered was hidden in the village. He warned that it was dangerous if that piece of armor fell into the wrong hands and they needed all the missing armor pieces for the approaching Holy War. This worried Hiruzen because of the fate of the world if they failed and the chaos that would come from the war and the deaths that would result. Hiruzen. I understand. I'll help you in any way I can, boys, so you can find that part of the armor you're looking for. Shido. We appreciate your help, Lord Third Hokage. Naruto and I plan to pose as your Anbu to avoid raising suspicion in the village. This allowed us to search the entire village more thoroughly for the armor piece we're looking for. If we're just regular ninjas, we'll have missions that will take up a lot of our time that we could spend investigating the village and looking for the armor piece we need. Naruto. Besides, it's best to avoid running into the Namikaze family and the two traitorous Anin, as well as the other traitors. And the one who might suspect us the most is that stupid, unfaithful, and treacherous bitch Kurumi, since, as I was her vessel before, she could sense part of my essence. That would be better, always using a henge and suppressing my chakra to the limit and staying as far away as possible from the Namikaze to prevent that bitch from discovering me. Hiruzen. I think it's a good idea, Naruto. It's better this way. And so it will be done. I just hope his stay in Konoha is bearable and avoids potential chaos and unnecessary problems. So the two saints nodded, talking a little longer. Hiruzen went to sleep, mentally preparing himself for what would happen that day and everything else that would occur during his stay in Konoha, as well as the possible problems that might arise along the way. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.